2, 1. What's up, people? You're alive, we're alive, and we are live. You're watching Young Lion TV. We want to thank everybody for coming in. We're going to talk about some big things tonight. We got a special guest in the building, Mr. Jeremiah Chase.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about all these awesome things. Talk about Easter, talk about the bombing that happened, all that stuff. You're watching Young Lion TV.
Yeah.
Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, won't you get up and stop fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding. Young lion.
Young Lion TV, you are watching us. We are live here at True Sound Studios in Camden, New Jersey, where the Young Lions meet in the Lion's Den. And we are live here tonight. We're going to talk about some great things. I want to introduce the crew to y'all. We got, of course, Mr. Simone Chang.
What up?
We got my brother, Jake Evans, who just walked in and made the beginning of the podcast before we started, which was amazing. This is his son's birthday today.
Yeah.
Jake the 4th. So we want to shout out him and say a happy birthday to my little nephew.
Jakey.
Yeah, that's why I was late.
Yeah. It's an honorable excuse.
Yeah.
And then of course we got Rachel Rhoda killing it on the production and the directing side of things, and eventually we're still working on that hashtag Rachel Cam that we're trying to get funding for. And if you want to help fund the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Young Lion TV or patreon.com/Jatan. And all of that stuff is going to giving y'all better equipment, better stuff, better content, basically. Mm-hmm. But last but not least, sitting right next to me is our guest this evening, our brother Jeremiah Chase. And we're going to talk to him tonight because he has a movement that he's been working on for a while that we always found intriguing and interesting. And so when we met him because he's a percussionist that we know through mutual friends, mutual musicians, and he's been around the Philly music scene for a while. And he actually came in and sat in and played a show with us where he killed it, and it was like amazing experience. He's a really good dude. So if you guys get a chance,
barely any rehearsal at all.
Yeah, came to one rehearsal, sat in, and then we were like, yo, just come to the show and just play and have fun. And that's what it was. And so if you want to check him out, he has a page on Facebook that's Sex Can Wait a While. That's his movement. And I believe it has something to do with abstaining, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's talk about it. There you go. There's his page right there. That's the Instagram page, right?
Hey, that is the IG. Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So tell us a little bit about like how you got involved with doing this movement and everything.
Mm-hmm. All right. So well, basically, what happened? So I was out one day because usually when God speaks to me,
mm-hmm.
I'm like doing something or not thinking about anything really. But he was just like, look, like I need you to start talking about your life more.
Okay.
Talk about how you interact with the opposite sex.
Okay.
Talk about how you're. At the time, I was 25 and still a virgin.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Well, now I'm 27 and still a virgin, right?
Okay.
But he was like, look, I need you to start talking about your life more. So
So let's start there then. So this all comes from your foundation of being a Christian then.
Yes.
Okay.
It does. But when people ask me that, you still have to create a foundation for yourself of why you're waiting.
Right.
Like my excuse for waiting isn't just because, oh, God said wait.
Okay.
And because sex is his idea, that's the gift for only married people. That wasn't that wasn't my excuse. I ain't found a foundation while I was really waiting until last year.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I was like,
So before you got the understanding, it was about obedience first,
right.
and then the understanding came. Do me a favor, get up on the mic so
Oh, my
that
bad,
everybody can get you and hear everything you're saying, because I want to get this is important. You know what I mean? So it came from the idea that you were, this was a lifestyle that you were living, right?
Right.
Abstaining, and your interaction with women and dealing with relationships and having to abstain in relationships and things like that. And so you have a unique perspective on relationships then.
Yes, sir.
Because I know, like, I mean, as far as all of us, you're the only virgin in the room,
Yeah.
right? But we all have kids, so that's how I know that.
Yeah.
But not to put you on blast, Rachel. But yeah, so speak to that a little bit. Speak to about like how did you, what was it that made you make that choice to not, like, because we all deal with the pressure, like when we're teenagers, when we're so inundated with like sex is everywhere, you know what I mean? So speak to like, what was it that made you just say, I'm not gonna go down that road?
So first, I would like to say this. My mom and dad were virgins.
Okay.
But the crazy thing is about that, like they never even sat me down and told me to wait.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, and my dad is a pastor.
Yeah.
So it's just like, dad, like when you think that, you know, you guys would, you know, and we were like in church heavy. So it's just like, dad, like at least can we get a conversation?
Right.
You know, at least can we get the talk?
Right.
You know, like
Right.
You wanted to talk.
Yeah.
Most kids wouldn't want to talk.
But look, it's like, I mean, my homie asked me. He was like, "Yo, like, he was like, yo, like, your dad never had like the birds and the bees talk with you?" I was like, "No." I was like, till this day, I don't know what that talk is.
That's
You know what I'm
crazy.
saying?
Do you, I think that is something that happens in like people that are heavy in the church, people that are really religious families. Like I know with my wife's family, her father is super religious. They used to hold church at their house and everything, and they never had that talk. You know, it was just kind of like something that was taboo to talk about because of the religious undertones of like, we don't talk about sex. You know what I mean?
Right.
What do you think? Like, do you think that that's detrimental to a developing person, especially in the world today? Like,
Yeah, like so I was talking to my mom one day, and she gave me this crazy behind example. Our late pastor, well, this is years ago. His name was Matt Yancey, and he even said, "Yo, like." Adults told him for years, sex is bad, like said all this negative stuff. And he said, and she was like, when he said he finally got some, he said, "Yo, they was lying." They was lying. You know what I mean? And I feel like this is the thing. Like, look, sex is a gift for married people, right?
right.
So it's like sex is portrayed to be as good. God is like, look, I'm giving you this, you know what I'm saying, because you have honored by my rules, right? You know what I'm saying? You're
Right.
at this point, you could be fruitful and multiply. So look, here, kids, take this and have fun with it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And but also, produce with it as well.
Right.
You know,
It carries the seed on.
exactly.
It
You know what I
keeps
mean?
life. It keeps life moving forward.
But-
right.
protect it too,
Right.
because a lot of times I say sex is God's gift, right? So it's like sex is, we don't respect the power of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We don't respect the power of it and what comes with it too. And the things what happens after sex,
Yeah.
orgasm. Do we know what oxytocin is?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The love hormone, the cuddle hormone. You know what I'm saying? I was watching this movie, and it was like in like London or something like that. So they had accents, right? So
Yeah.
this girl it was this boy smashing this girl or whatever. Well, they were smashing each other, however you want to put it, right? So, so the dude got done. So he zipped up his pants, about to leave out the door. She was like, "Yo, like I'm trying to cuddle," right?
Right.
He had the little jaw.
Yeah.
And he said, "Cuddle? Ain't nobody trying to cuddle." And I said, "Oh snaps." Then I'm looking at something by Miles Monroe, and he's like, "Men, sex isn't affection."
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's just like, look, I feel like that even people that do have sex, we haven't fulfilled the power and the desire of it,
Right.
because we think I believe that is more than just a feeling.
Right.
It should be just more than just a feeling. If you just say, "Oh, it's just a feeling," that's it. Then first of all, you're being disrespectful to God's gift.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you tapped into something too strong before you were available to have it, and now you can't control it.
Right.
Isn't
You know
that
what I'm saying?
like kind of, when you think about it, it's very selfish too, because you're fulfilling your own
Need.
your need, your desire,
yeah.
whatever you want to feel at that moment, and it's kind of like you don't think about anything else but just that right there.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean-
And it's like people be like, "Oh, just sex." No, it's not just sex. Why does your women, because oxytocin is a hormone that it plays a bigger role in women than men. So sometimes, like a lot of women, people say like a lot of women, they're really emotional, whatever. You know what I'm saying? All right, bet you haven't finished having sex with your wife or whatever. You know what I mean? The majority of probably, I want to talk for everybody, but based on science, they want to be held. They want to be held before the sex and after. You know what I'm saying? So it's never just sex.
Right.
I was checking the feed because it looked like the live stream went down, but I think we were good.
Okay.
So, how do you? Because I was having this conversation literally with. Remember, Kyle was on last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before that, we were in the studio and we were talking about the concept of like sex and how sex is so like overexposed, especially to younger adults. You know what I mean? And we were talking about how do you reconcile that with like people that don't have God as a foundation in their life? You know what I mean? Like how do you make them make sense of that? Like give them a reason to wait and abstain. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, a lot of times, if you're not a believer, right? A lot of people, they may use like, the universe or
Right.
energy.
Right.
We as believers, we know what that really is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But for those people be like, all right, you know what? I believe in self-love and kind of like extort God out of it.
Right.
So if you're that person, for a believer too, your body will always be a treasure.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Your body will always be a treasure. You got to think about it. What if somebody hurts your feelings? Somebody's had their feelings hurt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody did something, you witnessed something that you ain't like and it made you feel some type of way.
Right.
Even watching a movie, you're reading something in a book. You know what I mean? It made you feel some type of way. So like, your body will always be a treasure. Treasure your body. Men, there's something powerful between our legs too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't just like, no. Like that's something there, and we can we can do something with that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And same thing as women too. You know what I mean? But our bodies are treasures, and I feel like if we look like, even when you give somebody a handshake, you know what I'm saying? Like when I'm shaking Jamie's hand, when I'm shaking Jake's hand, when I'm shaking Moon's hand, Rachel's hand, that's something that you're giving off.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just gonna shake your hand to anybody?
No, there's a reason why
You know what I
the
mean?
handshake is a thing. It's an exchange of energy. It's an agreement that you come into.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like it's saying I'm acknowledging you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're actually touching. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that has been around for centuries because it's a way to acknowledge someone.
Right.
In exchange respect someone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
As a human being.
But I think it's interesting that like, because when you think about the idea of how like sex is so overly exposed now, I like to speak to the idea of like the fact that they've done studies that show that if you grow up without two parents, you're more likely to end up either in poverty or in jail.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like you have an 80% more chance of being a successful human if you have both parents in the household.
Right.
And if you graduate from high school. What are like some of the main causes of that are people having babies out of wedlock and getting pregnant in high school. People,
Father not being
they
around.
don't graduate a lot of times,
Yeah.
So a lot of these things are causing the systemic problems, especially in the black community. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That a lot of these things are causing that problem, and the abortion rates are out of control as well. And a lot of that comes from people just thinking that it's just cool to just have sex with whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you can point to, oh, but they should be practicing safe sex, which is the argument that a lot of people will use. But I feel like once you go down that road, like it's too easy to just mess up and not do that if you're already thinking in the mindset of like, well, I'm gonna have sex with whoever,
Right.
You know what I mean? It's too easy to, you know, just mess up. You don't have protection all the time, and then you end up in a situation where you now have to deal with the consequences of that one way or another, and all of those consequences don't end up, you know, helping you. They end up hurting you in the long run.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? So I feel like, you know, for people that don't have the foundation of like the principles of God or Christianity, you know what I mean? Those are things that you can point to,
Right.
to show people like, you know, it's smarter. It's smarter for you, for your life, to wait till you find someone that you love and want to marry and want to build a life with, to then procreate with. You know what I mean?
Right.
It doesn't make sense for you financially. It doesn't make sense for the culture to just be having babies with people that aren't going to stick around. You know, then you end up a part of the system. Now you have to, you know, be on welfare or get an abortion or something that's going to negatively impact you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that people don't do a good enough job of explaining that to the youth, especially in high school. Is like they don't give them these figures. They don't give them those statistics. Even in the church, like even in Christianity, like we don't do a good job of teaching the young folks like this is what happens when you go down that road. And if you don't value the fact that sex is about establishing a family, it's about establishing a bond between you and the person that you love and want to marry and want to procreate with and keep and start a community of your own, right?
Yeah, definitely.
If we don't focus people in on that and just don't talk about it, like you were saying, like it's you know,
it's
your parents
uncomfortable talking about,
right?
You know, like I know that time is about to come because I have a 13-year-old. Right, we were just talking about that.
Right.
Jaden is not even thinking about that right now, and he was like, Jeremiah was like, it's almost time. He knows about it, so I'm thinking about it, and you know, it's almost like, oh man, that talk, I gotta have that talk with my 13-year-old,
right?
You know, just in case, you know, he's curious.
Plus, like he's a little handsome guy, and girls are already like Nita always tells me about girls that are, like the girl that hit her up because she wants to take him to the thing or whatever. It's like you can't if you don't give him the knowledge, you can't expect him to like get it out there. You can't expect like girls. You don't like, especially you think because he's a boy that you don't run the risk. You know what I mean? But girls that don't have the knowledge are gonna chase him. And now you have to deal with the consequences of the choices that he makes if you don't teach him, right? Right. And that's the problem. That's where we all go wrong, I feel like, as parents, when we don't teach our kids properly what those consequences are. You know what I mean?
And you look at like just music.
Yeah.
You know, from the
I was gonna bring that up.
50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And the romance that was in it was more about love.
Right.
You go to today, it's like that's non-existent.
Right. It's been a slow degradation, I feel like, but it's been pushed a lot more now, and I think that plays a huge part of it. Like, what do you? I want to get his opinion on that.
Let me just say something real quick, because even with marriage,
right?
Because you can look at Christians, and a lot of people get married just because they want to have sex.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right.
You know, that's a problem.
That is a problem.
Like marriage is a very important thing that you got to think about. You got to look at the person you want to marry. You know, why do you want to marry him? You got to ask those questions. You really should be asking God.
Right.
Yes, dog. All right. I've been courting for 1 month now. And I was saying the other day, I was like, God will confirm before the courtship. He will confirm that before. Okay, God, look, I want to court this young. He will confirm that. Courtship starts with with a friendship first.
Right.
Anything should start with that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, you should build that. Me and Moon was talking about what I was telling him the difference between dating and courting.
Mm-hmm.
So I posted yesterday. I was like, I'm not dating, I'm courting.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, well, what's the difference? So a brief difference. Courtship is a process. If I break down that whole process right now, you be like, dang, dating ain't nowhere compared to that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Especially when you follow biblical principle behind it. You know what I'm saying? One of my friends just showed me a video. Well, the young lady that I'm courting, she showed me a video. She was like, the lady on the video, I forget what it was. The lady on the video was like, well, you're confusing her. I forgot the dude. Say the dude's name was Jamal, whatever. You're confusing her, Jamal, whether you guys are dating or not. He was like, look, I never said if we were exclusive.
Right.
See, that's the difference. First, dating can be confusing.
Right.
Because there's no foundation set.
No, none at all.
You know what I'm saying? With courtship, when a man woos a woman, that's his intention is to marry her.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You ask a dude asks you, all right, you know, what's your intentions with my daughter?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the intent? We don't have any intent anymore. It's just like, all right, bet. The intent can just be a date.
Right.
Just to hang out.
You ask them.
Yeah.
You ask a lot. I never thought about it. You know what I
Right,
mean? That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Take somebody on a date and you can never see them again. You know why? Because it was a date. I'm not your boyfriend.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I said. No commitment.
Growing
You can
behind
be
man.
dating
Yeah.
a whole bunch of people.
But that idea has been pushed by media, by movies, by TV, by music. It's an idea of, playing the field. It's the idea of like just enjoying yourself. It's the narcissism that you talked about before.
Yeah.
That's a word that we've coined here on the podcast. Well, Jake made it up, but we've coined it. It's a narcissism. He said it by accident, but it really fits. Like it's a narcissism. It's designed to make everything about what fulfills your desires first. It doesn't care about what happens to others.
It's about using people, using whatever you need to get what you want.
Right.
And that's what this country is right now. You know, especially with the younger people, the younger generation. And I'm not saying all of them, but just on the popular,
and it's not
side.
even their fault.
Not all of them.
This is something that it's been systematically like ingrained in people.
Right.
It's been slowly like
it's a
just programmed. Yeah.
And it's a shame, but it takes it takes
Right.
us. It
And
takes,
that's why we wanted to have someone like you on, because it's like you are someone that's going against the grain. And that's what this podcast is about. It's about people, like I was telling you, asked me, like, what's the point of the podcast? And I was like, it's about people that don't want to be sheep. They want to be lions.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't want to be just one that follows the crowd, that does what everyone else is doing. They have an intention to what they're doing.
Right.
And intention is a huge thing, like you said.
motivation.
Yeah. Any father, I have 2 daughters, right? Any father that knows that someone's interested in their daughter, they want to know what their intention is.
Yes, sir.
Because intention is an important thing. If your intention is just to play around and date my daughter and think that you're going to have a good time, no, she's not for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to... We good? Okay. We have to understand that we need to be waking up from the sleep that we're all in, where we're just like being programmed constantly, and you having this message of like sex can wait a while. We wanted to get to like the meat of it and find out like how someone like you in this day and age could even get to that place mentally. You know what I mean? Because so many people, even Christians, like even pastors' kids, like I know a bunch of them.
Our dad was a pastor.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking when I picked him up. You got to have a good circle around you,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he was saying that his friends never really. You know how kids can be.
Yeah.
Oh, you a virgin?
Yeah.
You ain't never had none before,
Right.
clowning you.
40-year-old virgin, right?
Yeah.
It's that
40-year-old
that
virgin.
concept. Like
Yep.
that's what made that movie so funny, is that we all know that experience. Like,
Yeah, he was saying that he's got a circle of friends that just respected what he values, and they never really clowned him for
and never
for one-
pushed you, never pushed it on you.
Yeah, never.
That's huge. That's important.
Never. Like they always I mean, it was never like my boys, they knew. So it was just like they was like, yeah, Chase not into that.
Well,
You know what I mean?
that's important, because I feel like that's another thing, another like lane that we don't teach our children when they're developing friendships. We don't teach them like what to look out for in friends,
Yeah.
even
Mm-hmm.
and
Why
their
do you like
circles that
them?
they associate
Yeah.
themselves
Yep.
with,
Yeah.
and understanding that like, yo, this group of friends is gonna influence you the wrong way and not gonna lead you where you need to go. You need to find some people that line up with what you believe in, or
Yeah.
line at least let you believe what you want to believe in, and don't want to pull you into their mess.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But ask them what attracts you to them.
Right.
Why do you want to be around them?
Right.
Like a lot of times they don't know.
They don't have an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's cool. Like, what does that mean? You know what I
Right.
mean? You got to ask these kids questions.
Well, you have a teenager, so you have experienced that
Yeah.
in certain senses.
Yeah.
But he's pretty good though.
He
Like,
is.
I can't.
But I'm sure there's still been circumstances where it's like you got to ask him
Yeah,
certain
always,
times, like,
yeah.
well, why do you want
Girls,
that?
he's dated.
Yeah.
You know? What's going on, dude? Like,
Yeah. What are you doing? What are you thinking?
Yeah, and I meet her and I know like something ain't right.
Right.
And it's like, okay, what are you doing with her? You got to ask them hard questions.
Right.
And then if he can't give me a good answer, I'm not like, don't date her. You know,
Right.
I'm just like, you need to think about why you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's important to give understanding.
Right.
Because when you take that approach, and a lot of religious people have this problem, because I know this is the same thing that happened with my wife and her sisters and even their brother. It's like, I forbid you. You know what I mean? It's like, that never works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't just...
That makes that child want to do it more.
No, or not only that, it just makes them not trust you to be open with you
Right.
anymore. They just sneak and do it now.
You have to
Yeah.
talk to them.
Yeah.
What's to say in the Bible about not angering your children, you know, and that's about like bringing them to the point of rebellion,
Right.
you know, because you don't, it's just what I say and nothing else,
Right.
you know. You gotta have, it is what you say, but why do you say that?
Yeah.
You
But then
know?
at the same time, it's like you can't always take that approach, because sometimes what you say may not always be exactly correct. So
well, that's my point.
when
Like,
when they see those cracks in the things that you've said,
Yeah.
now they're going to discount everything you've said and
Right.
say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I'm gonna figure this out on my
but that's
own."
the thing. Like that's what I've seen in the past. Not with everybody, but with a lot of Christians, is that they'll say something, but they don't have the understanding to back it up.
Right.
So then their kids can see through that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and that's a shame. Like they're gonna rebel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colossians 3:21. Fathers, do not provoke your children lest they become discouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a few. But
And
yeah.
I think a lot of parents don't really it's like, oh, I'm the parent. But even like the Bible puts the puts the parent in check too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's like, cuz it's crazy, like, cuz what if your parent doesn't have any accountability?
Yeah.
Like, your parent doesn't look like, if my dad or my mom is tripping, I can't go to nobody to put them in check.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, dad, I mean, I can go to God, but it's just like, yo, who can I snitch on y'all?
Mhm.
Like, if y'all really,
Your
no,
parents.
like, if y'all really tripping,
Mhm.
y'all really tripping. It's like,
Tell your grandparents.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's like, yo, because I feel like parents lack accountability. I mean, I'm courting. So accountability is really big.
Mhm.
And it's like, even when, because I always say, all right, so it takes a village to raise a what?
Child.
Child, yeah.
So when does that village stop raising the child?
I mean, I think the concept of a village, especially back then, was people of one mindset. You know what I mean? That have the same principles, same foundational ideas. So once there's an extension beyond that, that's where the village stops. You know what I mean?
Me personally, I don't think that the village is ever supposed to stop, because you're always going to be somebody's child. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would the village stop raising that child?
Right.
It's like that's like, okay, cool. I'm gonna hold you accountable until you 20. After that, whatever you do, that's you. No, bro. I assume y'all got the relationship. Yo, Jamie, you tripping? You should have did that.
Right. That is our relationship.
He hold you
it is.
accountable.
Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you literally know when you feel convicted. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because when you stop feeling convicted for like, dang, I even feel bad after I
Right. And there's a
slap that
difference
bull.
between
You know.
there's
Yeah.
a difference between conviction and condemnation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
that's the thing. Like some people don't want to hear anything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But those are the people who ain't used to hearing anything.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a child.
Yeah.
A child who is not used to be getting yelled at. Like I see this all the time. You say one thing to them in just a stern manner and they break down. They can't
Yeah.
take it.
Whose child?
Yeah, but I can't.
But
I'm not saying
but you're seeing that become a problem with grown
Well,
adults
that's
now.
the problem
because
with these
because they've been
completely-
sheltered their
Isn't
whole
that-
life.
isn't
from
that
any-
today?
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's
saying. Like
today.
Yeah.
when you, huh? What are you gonna say? Rick?
No sauce.
No sauce.
No
exactly.
sauce.
Less. Yeah, that's the snow plowing.
Yeah.
Snow plow parent.
He don't know what we're talking about though.
You ever heard of snow plow parents?
Nah.
Okay, so snowplow parents is this concept of like these parents that shelter their kids so much that they're like a snowplow. They get in front of them, they get in front of any obstacle, and they move it out the way. So it's like it could be anything. And what she was referring to, the no sauce thing, is that there's actually this story of a girl who her whole life she hated sauce. Any kind of sauce, ketchup,
Well,
spaghetti sauce.
No, let's get to the core because there was one point where she didn't like a sauce.
Right.
So her parents were like, you know what? Anywhere we go, like if they go to a friend's house, can you make sure there's no sauce around? Because she doesn't like.
Pretty sure I was getting there.
All right, but I'm just saying, like that's because it was just because she said she doesn't like sauce one time,
Right,
like,
right.
Then it becomes this.
So
whole
instead
thing.
of like taking control of that as a parent and saying like, okay, but that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Sauce is everywhere. You're gonna have to learn to like sauce. It's a concept of like, all right, I'm gonna remove sauce so that you never have to face it, right? So her school, they made sure there was no sauce at her school. They made sure there was no sauce at any of her friends, houses when she would go stay over and play there. So then she ends up going to college and there's sauce. You know what I mean? So her parents try to call up the school and let them know, like, listen, she can't have sauce. And of course, the school, I mean, I don't know if Rachel could find this. It probably might be too hard. But the school told them, like, kick rocks, basically.
Yeah.
So the girl had to drop out of school
because she couldn't handle
because
it.
she can't handle sauce.
Yeah.
But sauce is all right. Well,
It's
I know sauce. All right. So look, not like. Don't you know how when somebody usually asks you if you want something like on your burger or whatever?
Right.
Now, usually, if you go to some places, all the sauces will be in the back.
Right.
Or something like that, or on to the side. Sauce can be a choice.
Yeah, but she don't even want to be around sauce, bro.
Yeah.
It's
It
that
hu-
bad.
it hurts
She don't
her.
even want to see it. But this is what I'm saying. That the concept is that her parents felt the need to step in and say, we're going to protect her from sauce at all costs. You know what I mean? And
Instead
it
of
ends up
letting her deal with her issues herself.
right.
Hashtag no sauce.
No sauce,
That's
man.
hilarious.
And the thing is, like, and I've told y'all this too. Like, Liz has told me about parents that will, call her up and be like, my child wants a raise. You know what I mean? Or like,
Yeah, his wife works at H&M, the manager.
this guy's just
Which one?
Oh, my bad.
We in there. I'm trying to get psyched. No, I'm like,
He can never.
He can't.
I
just
can't do it.
not
I'm sorry.
Give all the details. Like, I swear. Like,
I should have said retail.
exactly. Like, or you don't even have to say that. It doesn't. It's not even applicable to the story. It doesn't matter. It's the important part of the story is that parents.
Well, you
are,
can edit it.
Parents are calling to like call out for their kids, calling sick, handling all of the, instead of letting them, and these are supposed to be adults, 19, 20 years old, 21, but the parents are taking on that role because we've come to this point where it's like no one wants to let their kids face any adversity.
They're insulating them from the world.
Insulating them. It's like some people call it nerfing the world, where it's like you know how you like people will nerf the corners of tables and stuff
Yeah.
like that so their kids don't hurt
Yeah.
themselves, instead of teaching them not to run into corners of tables. So if you want to nerf the world so they never get hurt, you know what I mean?
This is guy I listen to. Now is it Gary V? I'm not sure who says this, but they be like, "Yo, like what's up with the 8th place trophies though? Like, why are you giving the trophy for 8th place?
That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool. Like, no, but at the same time, because look, all right, if we're gonna award, like, look, I failed the 4th grade. I went to summer school and I stood it, and you know what I'm saying. I had to repeat.
Uh-huh.
I had to repeat. So it's just like I still wasn't getting no reward. Like when I opened up that letter and it said I was being retained, I was crying.
Mm-hmm.
My brother called my dad. No, my dad ended up calling the house. He was like, "Yeah, Bub was crying because he got to repeat," and it was just like I ain't getting no reward for like, "Oh, Bub, like it's gonna be okay."
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I just had to repeat.
Yeah.
Like I can't go to the fifth grade.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was it.
But they didn't go up there trying to protect you from that causing havoc at the school. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
something that you had to learn to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But you ain't fail again, right?
No, I didn't.
Exactly.
What's that? Oh, what's that
Yeah.
right there? How parents are robbing their children of adulthood. Is that a whole article on it? Does it mention the no sauce girl? Okay.
That's crazy.
Okay. So,
Talking about the snowplow parents, one came. So the huge problem is kids going to college, and
Right.
everybody keeps leaving college, throwing up their hands, can't deal with being on a campus. One came home because there was a rat in the dorm room. Some didn't like their roommates. Others said it was too much work, and they had never learned independent study skills.
oh my goodness.
One didn't like to eat food with sauce. Her whole life, her parents had helped her avoid sauce, calling friends before going to their houses for dinner. At college, she didn't know how to cope with the cafeteria options covered in sauce.
Right. Can't handle it. Gotta leave school because you've never had to face any adversity.
And what's one of the biggest issues with people today? Anxiety.
Anxiety.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem.
Dog.
But I've talked about this with Rachel the other day. We were talking about like there's been studies showing that the peanut allergy thing is another like
Sauce.
yeah, no, it's like another version of that. You know, where it's
Yeah.
like because we're the number of peanut allergies have been going up, directly correlating with the amount that we care about peanut allergies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like showing that because we are so like protecting people from peanuts, they're never developing this tolerance to the allergen that's in it.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's becoming more of a problem.
Yep.
It's that placebo type thing.
Well, not only that, it's a literal allergen that you need to be exposed to little by little. So they're doing studies finding out that like if they expose women when they're pregnant to small microdoses of it takes that whole thing away. Like they've done studies where it shows that the people that have been exposed to that, they don't get the allergy.
And because I know, like, going to the doctor with my kids, oh, you can't give them this, you can't give them that. I never listened.
Right.
Yeah.
Me either.
You know, my wife would be more like,
Yeah.
don't, but whatever. Because
Me
I
either.
know it's a lot of BS.
Right.
You know, like, of course, when they're babies, you can't be feeding them
Right.
meat. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But like what though? Because I had to speak in at Lincoln University, and like it was like this keynote the next day, and her daughter is like, they can't go out to eat. Like she said, the daughter allergic to something, and they put like milk, something to do with milk or whatever.
Dairy.
But it was like she's allergic to like 20 different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
It's happening a lot.
literally.
It's becoming a huge problem.
Yeah, like they had. She was like, "Look, they lied about the grits. They was like, no, we don't put milk. No. It was something they put milk in. That you usually put milk in, but they was like, no, we don't put milk in there." Daughter immediately to the hospital. So every time she eats that stuff, even like a smidget, that's like almost death.
Right.
So straight to the hospital, and that's. So no, they wouldn't be asked because when you was like you don't listen to the doctor, that was like oh crap.
No, because what I'm saying is that because they tell you everything.
No, he's
Like,
saying like initially they tell you
Yeah.
don't eat this, don't let your child eat that, don't because of the fear
And-
that they could be allergic
to a certain
Okay.
age.
Right.
You get what
Right.
it's like?
Yeah.
So a lot of what's happening is they're going to the doctors and they're listening, and then what it does is it keeps them from trying those foods earlier on in age. So
Right.
Once they start to become more mature in what they're eating, they're not used to those foods at all.
Right.
So then when you introduce them, they can't handle them at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know when I had my son, I went to find a pediatrician that was actually a little bit more holistically based. And they said that they were like very nonchalant. They were like, you can let them eat everything. Like besides honey, which is
Right.
the one thing that has like certain bacteria in
Right.
it that you should hold off on for a while. They were like, no, when it comes to like shellfish and peanuts and all of these different things, like look out for choking hazards.
Right.
But besides choking hazards, give them everything, because the longer you wait to introduce it into their diet, the more their body is maturing and developing without it. So then when you put it in at 6 years old, the body doesn't
Has
know
no
how to
idea.
process
Yeah.
Right.
that thing.
So that's my point. Like, if you wait too long,
That's like parents who just, you know, they have babies and they don't want people touching them.
Right.
and
It's the same thing with hand sanitizer. They're finding out that if you overuse that, you kill all the good bacteria on your hands, and then you have these problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
same thing with us.
Same thing with the microbiome. Right.
Well, yeah. What's everybody taking now?
Antibiotics.
and
And now
overtaking
these
antibiotics.
diseases are showing up that are immune to antibiotics because of the overuse. I mean, Rachel could find there was one that was that they just talked about maybe like last week. There's this new fungal infection that's incurable. And it's like killing people now because no antibiotics will work on it because it's morphed, you know, from another version. It starts with a C. I can't remember what it's called, but
Some crazy name.
but I want to, before we bring that up, I want to address what James said in the chat because it's relevant. He said, Dad asked Jamie, what's your intention with my daughter? He did. He literally asked me that. And
I remember you telling me.
yeah, like the first time I met him, you know, this is the first thing he says to me. Him and her mom sat me down at a table like this, and they said that, you know. And she was mortified. You know what I mean? Like, and her sisters watched that, and they were mortified, and it kind of shaped like how because you know they'll be secretive and not bring guys that they're dating around because they're afraid of that. And what I try to tell them is that like, what you don't understand is that he's doing you a favor there because him asking me that is if it puts me in a rough spot and I don't know how to answer that, I'm
going to weed out the bad ones.
Exactly. He's getting those out the way that don't mean to have any good intentions by you.
Right.
And you don't want those guys in your life anyway. So don't be afraid of that question being brought up. Like, let him ask them that question and see how they react.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's a good judge for you to know if that's someone you need to waste your time on or not, you know. But they're so afraid of like scaring a guy off. I'm like, yo, if that scares a guy off, he's
Good.
he's
not
giving
the
you
one for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
He's
Not the
telling
one
you
for you.
exactly what his intentions were.
Good. Scare him off.
I want to tackle something that you just said.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because now shout out to Kingdom Courtship, Salim Wright and Raisha Wright. They are one of my leaders that I look up to in courting because they didn't, once they found out that they were supposed to be together,
Right.
Confirmed by God, and it was just like they was like, well, we dated before, we don't want to do what we did,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you said that her sisters were like, I guess like hiding their dates or whatever,
Yeah.
that's exactly what dating does, because dating, it lacks accountability.
Right.
So when somebody dates somebody, the majority of people, somebody can have a boyfriend, girlfriend somewhere you never know about.
Right.
And when you find, like, sometimes you can sense that somebody messing with a clown.
Right.
I sense it all the time. I'll be like, yeah, he's a jerk.
Right.
Oh yeah, she's a jerk.
Right.
Like, you won't bring them around.
Right.
And you like, come on now. Especially if you're a good dude.
Right.
And if you're a good family,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, my sisters know I don't play.
Right.
So that's why they don't tell me nothing anyway.
Yeah.
So, when I do see them, I'm just like, no. He not the one. I'm sorry.
But see, what to me, it's like, why do our young women feel like it's better for me to hide it than to hear the truth? You know what I mean? Than to for like you're a guy, right? And I tell Liz's sisters that all the time. Like, listen to what I'm telling you because I know. You know what I mean? I know
Been
how
there.
men think.
Yeah.
I know what this dude is doing. I understand exactly when you tell me these little games, I can point to exactly where that's going to lead. And you're going to waste your time if you want to hide it for so long. And then it's like you could avoid all this hurt, all this heartache, all the wasted time that you put into a guy that I could see through like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that takes work. Hiding and being secretive takes a lot of work.
It does.
I think like the love thing has to come into play, you know, like because a lot of people think they're gonna judge me when it's not about that. It's about love, you know. Like I love you, so I'm looking out for you,
Right.
And most people they just go right to judging, you know.
Right, because
And
criticism is judgment now.
Yeah.
Any type of criticism
and
is
it's the
judgment.
fear and insecurity of all that they don't know how to handle. A lot of people don't know how to handle it.
Or you a hater. That's
Yeah.
everybody's favorite thing. Oh, you hating.
Yeah.
Like, let's bury that word now.
Right.
Yeah.
Because now we use that word in levels we don't even understand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a hater, but I'm giving you constructive criticism.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's the key: constructive, not destructive.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
oh, just because it's something that you don't want to hear.
Right.
We don't want to hear a lot of stuff. There's some things you probably don't want to hear. You want to hear. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like, you want somebody to tell you that your breath stink? Dang, I ain't want to hear that. Dang.
I do.
I want to know.
I mean,
If
yeah.
my breath stink, I want to know.
You want to know. You like, dang, I was over there talking and my joint was winging. I was talking for a while.
Yeah, it's important, man, for us to make especially for women. We gotta get to a point where they understand that you need to look to the men in your life that can be examples.
Say that
You
again,
know.
bro.
Look to the men in your life that could be examples.
And it makes it hard when you don't have a lot of men in your life that can be examples.
Examples.
That's true.
You know, and that's the thing we got to look at and take responsibility for. You know, something I always say: you can honor your mother and your father, and they can be the worst mother and father in the world because you choose to not do what they did, and you choose to be a father.
Right.
You choose to be a great mother, a great father, and you can take away what they've done, you know,
Right.
to you
Mhm.
for the next generation, for your family, for your marriage, for your kids, you know. And if you're not, because a lot of people bring that hurt
Mhm.
from their family structure into their future, into their marriage, or not even a marriage, just a relationship.
Yeah.
Then they go and have sex and they have a baby, and then they
Yeah.
bring that on the baby.
Right.
And then there's no father around because it's something that it's a cycle that continues, you know. And if we can get past that and we can find one person, you know, that we can trust,
Right.
you know, a little bit. Like that's the thing, because I know like our mom growing up.
Yo, she is hilarious. Go ahead, but she
Okay.
just literally put in the chat like that she's an example of that because she never
Yeah.
had a man in her life. Yeah.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. My mom growing up, my grandfather was not a great person.
Right.
You know, he was very bad, you know, in many ways. I'm not gonna get into it, but he's done a lot of evil things.
And he definitely was he was a very absent father. So he didn't direct his kids in any way, shape, or form.
Right. He was there, but he wasn't there.
Right.
Right.
And just like when I see the way my mom has dealt with men in her life, you see that. You
Right.
see the reason why. And it's a lot of hurt. And it took her to really trust. And that's why God is so important.
Right.
You know?
Yes, sir.
Because it took her to really trust in God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go through a bunch of men. You're not going to find it there.
Right.
To really trust in God to see men in the right light.
Right.
You
And
know?
go through men using her own logic, her own understanding of what a good man is,
Right.
based off of just perception, you know,
Yeah.
and that could
That
come.
comes from.
But no, I'm saying like the men that she chose was all based off of
Oh, yeah.
perception that can come from anywhere.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Like people don't realize that. Like even your idea of what a good man is can come from any influence
Right.
that you have.
If any man can figure out what they need to do to get you to sleep with them or to get you to love them.
Right.
And that's not love, that's manipulation.
Yeah.
It's wizardry.
It's wizardry.
Wizardry.
I think men have mastered manipulation. Think about a pimp. That's manipulation.
Oh yeah.
Not just
We've
men, women.
mastered that.
Yeah, women have mastered
I
it
mean,
too.
yeah,
People in
true.
general know how to manipulate, and I think men, like you're saying, for pimps, like the motivation of that is to make money and to get as many women as possible, and it's a method of tearing them down to them make them feel like they need the pimp to build them back up and give them value. You know what I mean? And there's a reason why a lot of pimps become pastors, because sometimes in the church, it's that same approach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like,
It is.
It's literally, I mean, to be honest with you, that's the way we're created as human beings. That's the whole point. Like, if we really want to get into it,
yeah,
that's the whole point of the temple.
right.
We're a temple, but that's the point of the temple, with the Jews. The whole point of coming to the place of sacrifice, that burnt offering, where it was called the table of the Lord, where you come before God. You have to come. You're laying down your life.
Yeah.
You're coming before Him. You're sacrificing it. That was an intimate thing,
Right.
To be able for that priest to be able to enter into the holy of holy place. And what happens? What do you create when you go into that? That's the righteous man, right?
Yep.
The righteous man enters in, and what's created? Life. It's life that continues. They only went in one time a year on the Day of Atonement, the high priest, right? They did that. Why? So Israel could continue in the life of God, and so He could stay among His people. And that's with us as people. That's the story of marriage, and it's the story of sex.
Right.
When you look at marriages with those Hebrew people back in the day, once they consummated, they would put the rag. It was a white rag. They would put, I don't know where, over top of their tent or whatever.
Right.
There was blood on the tent, and that would show their covenant.
But it was also to prove she was a virgin too.
What? I got the draws?
No, it's like it's literally like because it was for her to prove that she wasn't tarnished. She was
Right.
pure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was also to show a righteous man, because I don't want to get, but when you think of,
You don't want to what?
I'm just saying, like,
Go there.
when you think of a penis.
Oh wait, hold on a second now. Because Lacey is watching. She just said hi. Well, matter of fact, let me say hi to my daughter. Hi, Lise. Daddy loves you. She's watching right now.
Lacey, I love you too.
So maybe
Lacey.
All right, well,
try to keep it as G.
what I just said,
Right.
when you can't enter in unless it's upright.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
an upright man can't enter into the holy of holies.
Right.
And that's the
You
place.
mean unless he's upright?
Unless he's upright.
Right.
Well,
You
yeah.
said an upright man.
Define
can.
that.
Yeah.
What
Right.
do you mean by upright?
Well,
Yes.
what I mean by
Define it.
upright is Jesus,
Okay.
because He was the upright man. That
But what did it mean? What did it mean before Jesus?
okay, well, it meant the priest.
Right.
The priest had
But
to
the
do
priest had to be what?
Pure.
Well, he had to do everything he needed to do to be able to enter in.
Right. So he had
If
to
he
be.
didn't
had
enter
to-
in, he would die.
He had exactly. So he
Right.
had to be
I mean, if-
completely.
not if he didn't
He
enter
had to
in.
be completely absolved of sin.
Right.
Right.
And yeah, so but Jesus became that high priest who entered in.
Right.
And that was just those priests. That was just to show Jesus what He was going to enter into.
Right.
But Jesus literally became the upright man who entered into that true holy place, the throne, the throne room where God is.
Right.
Right, where He ripped that in half, and He was able to enter in. And He was the blood sacrifice. So when you see that blood, it's the same. That's Him.
Right.
He did that so we could enter into
Yep.
that
Right.
life.
Right.
So, and that life, and then He becomes the firstborn, and this is a new generation. To be born again, you're entering into a new life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, that's all about marriage.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the church is called the bride, of course. why Jesus is the bride and the bridegroom, because he was the bride first that became the bridegroom. You know, because Israel was the bride.
Right.
He became the man in Israel that fulfilled the law that the bride would become the bridegroom.
Right.
Right. So we could enter in as a bride. And it's all, and how does it happen? It happens through grace. It happens through love. It happens through laying down your life. To be married is to lay down your life. And it's not to lay down your life in terms of
she's always right, happy
Yeah.
wife, happy life,
Right.
all that stuff.
no,
that's
it's
been
to lay
hijacked.
down your life for love.
Right.
Hear
It's to
that
lay
way too
down.
much.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a failed marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris.
That's a defeated man.
Yeah.
Chris
You know.
from Trinidad.
That's Bredson.
Cousin.
Bredson. What's up,
He said,
Bredson?
he said if she did not spill her blood on that white sheet, the penalty was to be stoned to death.
Yeah, because she's a deceiver. She's not pure.
Right.
But yeah, it's funny how like when you look at a lot of the rituals and a lot of the things that the Hebrews were doing back then are all like symbology of Jesus. You know what I mean? Which
and symbology of coming before God and the intimacy and the oneness
right.
before God. And that's why like one of the probably the one time Jesus really got mad was when he went into
The temple.
the court of the Gentiles, you
They
know,
were selling
and,
the doves.
yeah,
Selling the doves.
Yeah.
and
Flip the
That's
table.
it, flip the tables, yeah.
and you think about that, like, why did he do that? Because they're standing in the way of grace.
Right.
Doves.
They're
Why did-
they're literally selling.
they're selling
the
it.
idea of grace.
But that's the point. Like,
Right.
no, they're gonna bring their goats or whatever. That's not good enough. You
Right.
have to buy this.
Right.
You're standing in the way of God's grace for your life. You know, and that's manipulation.
Right. That's
You see what I'm
wizardry.
saying? That's wizardry.
Right.
And that's not who God is. He says to come.
Right.
It doesn't matter how you come with your heart, you know, open, like David did. How much did David do wrong? And that's how we, like in marriage, it's the same thing.
Right.
If we can look past the things that the other one does, you can always overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with my wife, every time, like, yeah, we have fights. Yeah, we have things we go through. But if one person can overcome that and see past that and not get caught up in selfishness,
Yeah.
love can always overcome it, because that's the way God created us to be. You know, and I'm not saying it from a maybe. I'm saying it from every time I do that. Every time I look past myself, it always works out.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's so like amazing, it blows my mind. And what does it do? Makes us stronger.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing with God. It's the same relationship. Makes us stronger because we're weak. You know, we're
Yeah.
weak in faith. We're weak in, you know, but when we can see His grace in our life, that's y'all ever read Song of Solomon?
Mm-hmm.
You know, those. Why is it always talking about dove eyes? You know,
Because that represents the grace of God. Seeing the grace
Being
of
able to
God
see it.
in someone's eyes, and in the way that when you know this, when you can read their heart and see it in their eyes, that grace of God, that's when you can, you know, intensify that relationship with
right. That's
Right.
love. That's real love right there.
Right.
Because you're looking past your own selfishness
Right.
and drawing that person in.
and your hurts and all of your preconceived notions of things. And
Yeah, it's powerful, man.
It is. It is. So I mean, all of that correlates to
Yeah.
his movement.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
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 Praise Jesus.
Right. So-
Definitely, man.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely something that is interesting. You know what I mean? That the fact that you have started this whole thing, but I want to know, like, what is your end goal? Like, what is your idea for where you want this movement to go, and like what's the like purpose of it?
Just can wait a while.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because when people ask me, "Well, do you have an end goal or whatever?" I don't think my end goal will be the end.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's like, no, people, they need to know that sex can wait a while.
Right. Yeah, I feel you.
Like, no, y'all need to know sex can wait a while.
and
like,
understand
and I don't
why.
care.
Like, understand
You know what I'm
why,
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, all right, well, you know what? Ask your dad, why can sex can wait a while?
But your dad might not have a good answer.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's like, you got to know who the source. I feel like because some people's and you know, not to put anybody on blast, but I know people that they're, you know, the women that they're with or someone that they're dealing with, their father is not a good example of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they don't have that example. My mom is an example of that, you know. So they can't ask their dad that. So it's about somehow we need to get, you know, we need to get the message across to them in a way where it makes sense. And it's not just because God said so. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and because I don't like, see, some people, they may hit me up, ask me about relationship advice or whatever. And I don't like talking about relationships. I don't, because I'm like, people just don't get it.
Right.
And I'm at a point in my life, I said, yo, if you're not a believer, I can't help you with your relationship.
Right.
Because
you need that foundation first, right?
Look, if I talk to anybody, somebody that's not a believer, I'm bringing up Christ. No, you need to consider this before you consider anything else. But I mean, I'll give you advice. You know what I'm saying? But it's like I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, relationships. So, and I love telling my stories. I only had like 2 girlfriends in my life, but once I realized, I'm like, dang, like, yo, when I was in relationships, like when I had girlfriends, because I don't believe in boyfriend and girlfriend anymore. It doesn't exist. It's not biblical.
Right.
How Christ, how the church was.
That whole thing is a flawed concept. But yeah.
So, but I'm just like, all right, you know what? Let me tell my story, and then I'll tell my story about relationships. I'll talk about things that I've seen from other people. You know, situations that put other people in. Situations other people were in, situations I was in. It's like, all right, cool. We're not even gonna talk about sex yet. Let's talk about how you wasting your time with people. Period.
Right.
Like you brought up friendships. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, look, like, no, we can't hold hands. You know what I'm saying? I made a vow to God. I was like, look, I'm not kissing another young lady in the lips until I get married. You know what I'm saying? On the altar. That's because kissing was my struggle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was one of my struggles. Like, I'm like, no, like if I was out with a girl, you know what I mean? I was just like, yo, that's how I initiated a relationship. I kissed you. I ain't asked you first.
Right.
No, boom. That was my.
I mean, that's what we're taught.
You know what I mean?
It's like, you know, that the dating scene is like, did you get your first? Did you get the kiss? You know, that seals the deal. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. It's like we're pushed into this idea that like you need to be intimate in order to establish something. You know what I mean? And that is it's a backwards approach to the whole thing. You know, and I think that it's interesting that you say you only had 2 girlfriends. So did you get pressure from them in any way? Or did they kind of understand and not really pressure you? Because I don't know. It's different for men and women. I feel like when a woman's a virgin, like the guy is never going to give up. Like he's going to just constantly be like, but come on. You know what I mean?
I mean, depending where his head is at. But.
Yeah, depending on where his head is at. Yeah. Like if he's not a virgin.
No
because
pun
it's
intended.
like, look. Celibacy and being abstinent, people break down their own definitions of it, right? So basically, let's use preventing having sex, right?
Right.
You know, sex prevention, right? Like, people have to realize that that what we talking about? What we talking about just now?
We're talking about you being pressured.
Oh yeah, okay.
By
all
the
right,
girls.
Cool. I'll be tripping. All right, so I'll tell you this. One relationship, I wanted the French kiss. She was like, no, Jeremiah, like, I don't want to do that because that's going to make me want to have sex. That's going to make me have sex. So I was like, oh, all right. But I was like, well, can we just try it? Because that was like, I like that.
Right.
I like kissing. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, come on, like, what's up? But I respected it. You know what I mean? Or I bet. I was like, look, because I don't want to tempt you to, you know what I mean? And because look, trust me, like, I'm not giving you the draws.
Right.
Real rap. Like, I could play, like, yeah, I'm going to act like I'm telling you, that you'll be heartbroken. You'll be heartbroken if you think that I was going to do that. You know what I mean? because I was too strong for that. I was
Right.
too strong. Another relationship, I was pressured a little bit. It wasn't like no aggressive joint, nothing
Right.
like that. But I
Right.
had to, I had to tell her to chill.
Did it
know what I
cause
mean?
did it cause any issues though? Like did it cause like a divide, or like did she feel insecure about that at any? I'm just curious because
No.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I just know I wasn't having sex.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was,
I think it's different for men and women, man. Like for women, I feel like because I know women that have been virgins, far longer than even you, and like they say that like every guy they date is just like that's all they can think about. You
now
know what
look,
I mean?
can I say something about that? Because a lot of virgin women hit me up like, yo, like, but all the dudes they, all right. So look, is it they want to have sex now? But look, a lot of them, recently, a lot of them they say that the guy runs away, and I'm like, sis, that's okay,
Right.
because look,
He's
if a
telling you
man-
what he's about.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same
That's
thing.
the same thing you was talking about.
I was telling somebody about that who just got into a relationship. I forget. I think it was on Instagram. I was like, make them wait for sex. You know what I mean? Because it's like that's going to tell you everything you need to know. You know what I mean about the dude.
Yeah.
If you make them wait for sex, like because most dudes can't.
No. Yeah.
And if they really are serious about you and really are invested in you as a person and really want to see a future with you, they will. You know what I mean? It's like the Sierra. We were talking about Sierra and Russell Wilson on the couple podcasts ago.
Oh yeah.
Talking about them and just talking about how like she gets a lot of flack from dudes because they look at him as a square, you know what I mean? For the simple fact that he, is a stand-up guy, wanted to wait to have sex until they got married, all that stuff. So I think that's another issue that men deal with, is that like there's a culture, especially in the black community, of like making someone feel corny for not doing that.
The right thing. We're doing the right thing.
Yo, first of all, fellas, if y'all feel less of a man, first of all, men are so stubborn and prideful. Think about us. This is something that we deal with. For that we're going to have to deal with. Women deal with stubbornness and being prideful too, but I feel like it's really outgoing in men that's strong in us.
Yeah.
We can see it. You know what I mean? It plays a bigger role, right? So, but you need validation from a woman by sleeping with her to be a man.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, bro.
It doesn't
and
make
that
sense.
doesn't add up. You're
And
dumb.
it doesn't make you a man.
Yeah,
And that's,
right.
And that's the divide that we need to start teaching young men. It's like, yo, and I said it in the podcast before, like the amount of vaginas you've had it will never make you a man.
Dog.
It will never make you a man. The amount of girls that are on your team, that are riding you, that the amount of attention you get will never fulfill you.
I mean, it shows you that you're a boy.
Right. It shows you that
Talk to him, Jay.
you're insecure. You're
I
insecure.
mean, yeah, look at how many. Dude, I know so many guys that got like 11 kids,
Right.
by 12 baby moms.
Right.
I know that. I know
math
that
don't add up.
I know that math don't.
Right.
But that's
That
my
don't add up.
that's my point.
Right.
Because then they like, oh well, this one might be mine,
Right.
but you know what I mean.
Right. I don't think this one's
but this
really
one
mine.
ain't really
Right.
mine. And it's like, yo,
Yeah.
it doesn't even. Why do you keep on doing the same thing? And I know so many people who have got babies at the same time with other girls,
two different
and
women.
then
yeah.
they want to talk about child support. They want to talk about the women.
Yeah.
They want to talk about how horrible they are.
Right.
They want to. That's all your fault.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't got to deal with that.
Me
I don't gotta deal
me
with
and
none of that.
James joke about that all the time because he was telling me about a story of like someone was telling him a story about like, yeah, man, my boy, he's talking to me, so upset. James is another one of the young lions that's usually on here. He couldn't do it tonight because he's got the baby because he's a married man with a kid and
Hey, James.
and he
Responsibility.
waited to have sex till he got married with his wife.
Hey.
But he was telling me like he's calling the dude's calling him and like, yeah, man, he was at can you believe this, man? He's got this crazy chick that's like she's harassing him for child support, like ruining his life. He met her at the club and they had sex in the bathroom and he got her pregnant. It's like
Yo.
She's ruining
like-
his life.
okay, so you want me to feel sorry for him?
Yeah.
He's an idiot. You know what I mean? Like you don't. No one's gonna feel sorry for you for bad choices that you make.
Yeah. And that's the opposite of what a man is.
Right. Exactly.
The responsibility is about the right response.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't, if you don't have the
Let's
right
go,
response,
Jake.
you're not responsible.
Exactly.
And women, stop looking at these men for other stuff and look at their responses.
Right.
Because if they're not responsible, why are you with them? Why do you think you're going to have a good life with them? You're not. It's not going to happen. You're going to have torture. You're going to go through torture. And then you're going to wonder why later. But then you're stuck with them because if you have a baby, now you got to deal with them your whole life. And vice versa, men too. You know, you got to deal with this your whole life.
Yep.
And it's nobody's fault but yours. You know, and of course things can change, things can get fixed, but you got to deal with it.
Right.
And that's the thing that happens over and over again. Stop making the same mistakes.
Right.
You know, and yeah, you don't need God for that. But guess what? God is in that. You know what I mean? God is at the core of that.
Right.
You know, because it all goes back to responsibility. And God shows you how to be a man. And with a lot of our people, and I'm not like, I'll say urban, you know, we're mixed, me and my brother. But with our people, there's a lot of rebellion. And that rebellion causes people to think they know everything. Pride and thinking they know everything. Not looking to other men who have their life in order, but looking to other men that think they know everything. And the men that are the best at thinking they know everything. You understand what I'm saying? Like the men that they're the strongest dummies.
Yeah.
You know, the strongest dummies. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they're very strong at being very prideful and doing the same thing over and over again. And why are you looking up to him? You know, and we got to stop the cycle.
Yeah.
I'm so tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it, man.
I feel
I'm tired of seeing dudes go through the same thing.
I feel like a lot of men, the men who think to do the wrong thing. All right, so like May 25th, I have an event coming up called it's by Sex Coined Wild, but we're presenting a man's heart.
May 25th.
May 25th.
Where is
yeah.
it?
At 4221 Aspen Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Make sure y'all go check that out.
Started at 2:00. So a man's heart, right? What was the Steve Harvey book and movie was like? Think Like a Man, right?
Think Like a Man.
So, but even before he came out with that, women always wanted to know. When I was doing my show, G Club RT, it was some women they say that like, yo, it's always really interesting to see how men think. Now, right, but this event is called A Man's Heart. Forget about what men thinking about. Where's his heart?
Exactly.
Because that's still connected too. Maybe these men are heartbroken, so they have no other choice. They think it's no other choice but to have multiple children. You know what I'm saying? With different, they're probably heartbroken.
Yeah.
That's the heart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yo, what am I dealing with? What are we dealing with in our hearts? We need to. A lot of us need surgery.
Yeah.
We need stuff taken out.
Absolutely.
Some stuff putting in. We need a cleansing.
But men don't want to go to the doctor.
Men are least likely to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Because why? Because they're afraid of what they're going to
might
find
see.
out.
Yeah.
You know, instead of facing it.
Yeah.
You know, but men don't want to admit to that.
But that's what a real, like, if a man can face their fears,
Right.
you can overcome them.
But that's what I want to say. Like, we need to, because you're talking about the Steve Harvey thing and think like a man, but a man can think like so many different things, like, and all those influences can come from different places. So we need to get men to start thinking in the proper way before you can even care what a man thinks like. That's why, like, what you're saying is look at their heart is more important, because what a man thinks like is not always good,
Right.
You know?
As a man thinking.
Right. Exactly.
So is he. But I think, like, see, when I came up with, I was like, yo, like that scripture, the man thinking, so is he.
Mm-hmm.
His heart.
Yeah.
Right.
And going back to what I was saying about, well, what you were talking about, not having fathers in the household.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a father will guide a man to that passion. You know what he should be striving for in his life.
It's like Young Lion, the lyric in Young Lion. Who is your father? He establishes your way.
Yeah,
you
right.
know what I mean.
Right. He establishes your way. He shows you which way to go.
Right.
You know, that's what our Heavenly Father does.
Right.
He establishes our way, which way we're supposed to go. And fathers, natural fathers, are just an extension of that. And when we don't have that in our lives, it's so hard to see that. You know, and so many of us work through that pain, like
Right.
you were saying. You know, we're hurt. Like I know me, I had to work through that pain, and only who else am I going to turn to? I only had God.
Right.
You know, I had to seek Him to be able to fix my relationship with my father. You know, to be able to talk to Him without hurt. You know, looking at Him like for what He did to me, and being able to see past all that.
Right.
You know, and that. Then I'm able to see my relationship with my wife differently. You know, but a lot of men, they're trying to be men, but they don't know how to be men.
Right.
You know, and
so they're trying.
That's definitely the key to it. It's their heart.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Every man has seen a good man before. You've experienced a good man before. I don't care. You saw it on TV. It was made up. But you know, you had an example. A lot of people like, Jeremiah, how you wait? Yo, watching cartoons and stuff like that. And what was this one called Tall Tale? It was a Disney movie, and we had it on tape. And they say no spitting in front of women and children. I would never forget that. It said that it was like this country joint that they did, and it was like no spitting in front of women and children. I think it said like bad mouth too. So it's just like you've experienced somebody do good somewhere. A lot of women are like, oh, all men are dogs. Have you dated every man?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? No, I don't care. Like, and a lot of single women like, well, you're married, you're taking. So what? I don't care. It was a time where he was single. You know what I'm saying? Like, get out of here if that dude is married.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a good man. So if you don't, you know, you look for that good person. Now watch out for expectations. Don't compare like, oh, you're not like this person. Like, no. Somebody should be a reflection though of somebody that's good.
Right.
Men and women, man. You've experienced somebody do something good. You experienced somebody dope. Take and idolize that.
But I think that where the disconnect is that a lot of times, especially for men and for young men, is that we aren't pointed to those examples as something to even look to. You know what I'm saying? So like even if you have experienced it, your focus has always been put on like, but what is Jay-Z saying? You know what I mean? Yeah. But what is LeBron saying though? You know what I mean? Like it's always, you know what I'm saying? Like the focus is always on that. The focus is like, it's more about being cool than understanding what's important. You know what I mean? So whatever the culture says is cool, that's what I'm gonna emulate. You know what I mean? And right now, especially now, like especially,
and that's what I'm gonna value.
Right? Exactly.
You know, like that's the gold.
So
that's
when
what I value.
Gold, which we got coming out May 6th, by the way. Everybody, stay tuned for that. Gold.
Good plug.
Gold is coming out May 6th. But
that's why.
Go ahead.
That's why it's good to change the culture.
Yeah.
Hashtag wait.
Yeah.
You know
right.
what I mean?
Sex can wait a while. Player.
Sex can wait a while.
Yeah, we need to change the culture.
It's all about the culture.
It is. Because when you look at the culture of hip hop right now, think about it. And the demographics for most of the stuff that people are listening to are the most impressionable ages, 13 to 18.
Let me ask you a question, Jim. Do you think that the church in the last 20, 30 years has kind of stepped away from popular culture and tried to make their own culture? Like, you think that might be the problem? What do you, in terms of culture, right? You can insert yourself in the culture, or you can, and I don't even want to say, you can go into the darkness or you can separate yourself from it. and you can insulate yourself from it.
Good question.
You know what I mean?
Come out of Egypt, or you can be a part of Egypt.
Right. Like, so in the last 20, 30 years, and I'm saying that because media has been so prevalent in those years. What do you think? How do you think the church has responded?
The church, and I'm gonna strongly say the people of the church, because come on now, it's what people are seeing now in church. It's not anything different. We're trying to incorporate the world in church. You know what I mean? Like, I hate when I see themes like, if we come up with it, like if the world comes up with a name, right? I'm sorry.
What? No, he had to go to the bathroom. It's
I
all
know,
good.
but did he trip though?
No, did he?
Yeah. Dang, bro.
That one beer got moan already. He can't even walk up the steps.
So, I feel like if you see something like, I feel like, all right, lit,
Yeah.
drip,
Right.
swagger.
Right.
All right, come to our youth night. Swagger night for Christ.
Right.
Lit night for Christ. Drip drop for Christ. Corny. I hate it. I hate it.
Because you know why? Because you're like us. You see wizardry. Remember, we were talking about this earlier, right? You see wizardry, and I was talking
You
about this
see
to
manipulation.
before we started the podcast. We were talking about like how, because you were saying like women are more prevalent in the church, and I was saying that like, because women have a tendency more to go with those trendy things, and men have a tendency to see manipulation and kind of recoil, like, yo, why are you trying to manipulate me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So when you see things like that, when you see like them using pop culture terms in the promo for something for youth night, it's like, yo, this is corny.
Yeah,
you know?
and I look, come on now. I've been saved since I was 15 years old. Some people think I was introducing people to Christ before I was saved. Before I was 15, I never really confessed and believed in my heart that Jesus Christ was Lord. I never did that with my mouth until I was like, dang, yo, I've never really did that. I used to think I did when I was like 7. Something happened. It was like everybody was saved, and I got confused. You know what I mean? But anyway, sidebar. But Christians, even look, I've been born and raised in the church, but I'm sorry, gospel rap needs to step up his game. Now we got Lecrae, all right, dope. You know what I mean? It's the truth, dope. You know what I'm saying? This other guy, we're gonna shout out. I can't think of his name right now. I seen some other local cats, dope. But come on now, I'm tired of these corny behind Christian rappers coming to church.
I gotta speaking on that. I gotta give a shout out to Abel then, because Abel, Adam, Rick Harmony, these dudes, they got a whole movement called Ripe Creation, and they got a group called Us. I'm working on an album with them right now.
Okay.
It's a dude that rapped on Young Lion. They are dope. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
really
y'all
good
saying
Christian
they dope.
rappers.
I ain't hear them.
Yeah. Well, if you heard Young Lion, which you clearly didn't, you would know that he was dope.
But yeah, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, man. I tell my bro at work all the time. I be like, yo, when we decide to do stuff for the kingdom, for Christ, why is it whack?
Yeah.
Why is everything
But
that
see,
we
that's-
do corny?
But then is it really the kingdom?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, is it really the kingdom, or are you
It's
trying
not.
to play and manipulate? And if that's the case, then that's not God.
Right. Because
You know
again,
what I mean?
what's the
Facts.
difference? What's the difference between saying using lit and using, you know, swagger on the promo for a youth group, and then trying to use, you know, a Lil Uzi Vert style song as a gospel song? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference
Like
between that?
This is what I'm trying to. The media, you know, the mainstream. Why are we not going in as a like, you need to be saved, you're going to hell, all fornicated, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not like that, but I'm saying like challenging people,
Right.
challenging them. Why? Like, just a simple thing. Like the other day, I was at my brother-in-law's house, and his son comes out with his pants like down here,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, Nobody wants to see that.
Right.
You know, and nobody says nothing to him, but I'm gonna say something to him.
Right.
And it's like, and it's not just, dude, nobody wants to see that. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Like, what do you feel like that you can have your pants? You know what I mean? Challenging them.
But it comes from a place of like, because you know what it's like to be caught up in trends and caught up in doing stuff, just following other people.
Right.
So I'm going to point it out to you to show you how stupid it is.
And,
you know what I mean?
And can you give me a good answer?
Right.
Can you give me a responsible answer? No. A lot of times they can't. So it's like, okay, so think about why you're doing it. Or
Right.
you're just going to keep on doing stuff just because
That's what
it's
everybody
cool.
does. Right.
Now look,
You know what I mean?
what if
Your pants sagging comes from prison culture.
right?
Is Moan's mic muted?
It is music muted.
That's because you tripped up the stairs going to the bathroom.
I was afraid when you came back, you were going to make a lot of noise.
I had to go really bad.
That was a preemptive muting by Rachel. Good job there. She said, Moan can't even get up the steps without making noise. That one beer, look, that's because these things are like, dude, I think they're like
One can too many.
10% alcohol.
They're delicious.
Sorry, Rach.
Oh, hold up, but look. Let's talk about that demon on that's on the joint though.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, it is.
Let's talk
Take a
about
look
that
at
demon that's on the can.
It's definitely a devil on the
What
can.
are y'all drinking?
Look, it's by Stone, the brewing company Stone.
Okay, don't know who that
It's
is.
an espresso totalitarian
Totalitarian.
Imperial Russian stout. So
It was delicious though.
So it's a stout, but it's pretty high in alcohol content.
I don't like stouts.
I like stouts.
I love stouts.
Stouts are good, man. It's like one of my favorites right now.
What is a stout?
It's a.
They can tell you. I can.
Really dark beer.
It's a beer made from barley, but the barley is roasted till it's really dark.
Mm-hmm.
So it has more of a nutty, roasty coffee kind of taste.
Yeah,
to
that's
it.
why I like it. I
Mhm.
love coffee.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, so let's.
You don't drink?
No, sir.
yeah. Is that because?
Well,
Because Jesus
I don't-
drank wine.
I don't.
You know.
I don't. Well, I mean, the way you tripped up up that step.
Right? You didn't give him a
I
good.
tripped.
You
I
gave him
tripped.
every reason he needed.
Every reason.
Because I was holding it. I was holding it for a long time. I was trying to hold it to the end, but
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
Tried
I'ma
to
still
raise
need y'all to
something
explain the demon that's on that can. though. Let me-
Listen.
But no, well, I don't know both of my grandfathers because they were alcoholics,
Okay.
and that runs in my family. So I'm good.
Okay.
Right.
You know, the Bible talks about do not be drunk with wine. Well, with wine, and that's beer.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's a different
Same thing.
conversation. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Same taste.
It's all
not the same thing,
fermented.
But it's
School them, Jake.
agriculture.
School them, Uncle
Yeah.
Jake.
It's fermented plants.
yeah, but
You know what I mean?
there's definitely a thing with that. You know, people can use that. They can use that as a condemnation,
Yeah.
or they can use it as a
crush.
grace.
Right,
thing.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
There's grace under whatever, but it's really about your heart. It goes back
about
to your
your
heart.
heart.
It's about your heart.
You know. Are you lying to yourself or are you
Right.
telling the truth? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you keep slipping
That's
up
what people
and getting
struggle
drunk,
with, man.
though,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
come on, bro.
You got to ask yourself why.
Right. Why do I need to drink all the time?
Yeah.
Maybe because look, that's why our church we don't we have juice and crackers
Mhm.
because some people struggle with alcohol.
Right.
So why would I? You know what I'm saying? Why would I bring it? It's like no, I can't do that.
Right.
Somebody broke it down in scripture to me. I forgot what she said, but she was like that we're not supposed to be drinking alcohol because people like to use that scripture. But she had brought something. I forget. I can't remember. My apologies. But some people believe. I'm gonna just say some people other believe that you're still not supposed to drink alcohol. Period. Anyway.
Yeah. Some people believe
Yeah,
that.
they
You
do.
know? I understand why they believe that.
I mean, every church that I've been at when we did communion was
They had the
was
Jones.
juice.
Yeah.
Oh,
juice.
juice.
Was always
Had that
juice.
grape juice.
Yeah, I mean because of what you know.
Cause yeah,
that trigger.
Plus, wine's
You know what I'm
expensive, bro.
It is.
Ain't trying to
It is.
spend that collection money on that wine, bro. Nuh-uh. Get y'all some Walmart grape juice, grape
And
value.
water that
The
joint
Welch
down.
Water it down. Yeah.
Hold up, water to the grape juice now?
Yeah, water it down, bro.
Why?
Water it down because it lasts longer. You can use it for
Oh.
communion all year long.
You don't know about watering down to make like one can of juice last for like 6 months.
You know why? Because
No.
he's not a parent. He's waiting.
okay.
Yes, he's waiting.
Oh, so y'all
Yeah,
be,
you tell them you watering it down for it to be more healthy, but it's really because you're gonna make it last.
Yeah.
so y'all slime me on the cereal on the cereal boxes too. That ain't tricks in there.
No, he's
When they,
talking about buying the Walmart brand cereals.
It just
Yeah.
like you had a one brand box, but you switch the cereal out.
Yeah.
No, I never did that.
Never did
but
that?
That's a good idea.
I like it.
Have any of y'all ever experienced a Catholic communion?
I have.
I have.
I mean, I've not partaken, but
That's
I've
like
seen
definitely
it.
alcohol though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but and it's also kind of like it's gross in a way. It's
Yeah,
like,
that
everybody
wafer-
drinks
that
from the
wafer
same
thing?
cup,
no, it's everyone.
It is.
Everyone has to drink from the same cup,
and they just
Oh,
wipe
and
it.
they
yeah, that
just
is
like
nasty
move,
as
they
crap.
just turn the cup and wipe it like, and everyone lines up and drinks from the same cup.
That's nasty.
I was definitely like, I'll pass on this one.
And there's a difference because they literally think that once they do that prayer, that wafer is the actual body
Right.
of Christ.
No, it's a thing, and that's the real blood because whatever's left, the priest has to break up the wafer and then put it in the wine and then drink the
Right.
rest of it.
Yeah.
Like that's part of the ritual
Yeah.
because none of it can go to waste. Rachel's face says it all right now.
They out of pocket.
I don't know where they found that at in the Bible, guys.
The same place where they found the big snake chair that the Pope sits in front of. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's in that same place. Yeah,
And I guess touching
yeah.
little boys too.
Might be in
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
Might be in that chapter.
same place they
think-
did the cross on the
The ashes.
ashes.
That's, I
Oh,
think
the
that's,
Ash Wednesday
Dude.
joint.
I was
Yeah.
looking up Easter,
Yeah.
and I went through this like rabbit hole of Ishtar.
Yeah,
And-
let's talk about that because we were going to get to that because Easter was just on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a huge, this is the biggest, probably the biggest Christian holiday.
right. Easter worshipers.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Easter worshipers. But let's talk about Easter first. Okay, let's talk
Yeah.
about, because it was funny because I was asking a pastor yesterday about the concept of Easter, just trying to get perspective on, like, I was asking, like, how does the church reconcile the pagan origins of the Easter holiday and how that all came together, and how do they, like, how does the church kind of like make sense of all of that in his opinion, as a pastor or whatever. And it was funny because Moan was there and he totally like dodged the whole question and went down this whole trail of other things. And I let him talk because I just wanted to see where he was going with it. And it was kind of like, he started talking about the youth and reaching the youth and blah, blah, blah.
What?
And then I kind of stopped him. I was like, okay, but I want to get to Easter though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then I brought up about, Ishtar and the fact that, when Constantine wanted to unify Rome and bring, the pagan religions that they celebrated and line them up with Christian holidays, so it was easier for the pagans to conform into Christianity so that he could control Rome because they were losing a stronghold, especially in the extremities, and everybody was like the Roman military was a little more depleted at that point, and he wanted to unify Rome under one religion. And his response was hilarious because he was like, well, that's very intriguing and very interesting, and I'm gonna have to pray on that because you have made me aware of things that I was not aware of. And so I think like I want to have that discussion with people because I think we've been celebrating Easter for so long, because a lot of people don't realize that every denomination of Christianity that we pretty much use has stemmed from the Catholic Church.
Yeah, Catholicism.
Has stemmed from Catholicism. So all of our traditions stem from a Catholic tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Bible that we read, this is a whole nother podcast, but even the Bible that we consider the ultimate word of God. There's a lot of different versions because the Catholics had their own version and the Protestants broke off and had their own version. And then there was even a council that decided what books that were being taught at the time would go into the Bible, and certain books were left out, some books were kept in. And there's a little conflict because
I think.
yeah, Jasper was in the Catholic Bible, right?
Oh, Jasper.
No.
I was talking to my homie.
Oh, okay.
Because he was actually Jasper. Jasper isn't in the Bible because we can't handle what's in there.
But who made that call?
We
Yeah.
Who made that call?
I
Constantine.
forget where and you know what? I believe that because who was it? Who was it when they wanted to see God? And you know, if you want to see
Moses?
God,
You talking about Moses when he wanted to see God?
He wanted to see God.
and he gave him a little glimpse, and his face glowed, and all of that.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, if you want to, I feel like what's in there.
We've read Jasper.
You've read Jasper.
Yeah, we've read Jasper.
Is so you saying like is the real Jasper?
Yeah,
It's
the one that was in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Give me a copy.
Okay.
I mean,
But this is the thing.
there's the
Like,
internet.
you got to understand, like, anytime someone is establishing something as a form of control, right, or as a form of like control, because you know the Catholics, you weren't even allowed to have a Bible. Me and Rachel went into had this long talk the other night. When you were the original Catholic Church, you weren't allowed to have a Bible. You weren't allowed to read the Word
Read
of God
it by
yourself.
yourself. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And most of them were only translated into Latin because most people didn't speak Latin. So it's not something that they even wanted you to have access to. But they also decided that certain books would make the cut and certain books weren't. And there was a whole council of people that came together to do that. And we don't necessarily know why certain ones. There's people that have tried to break it down, which doesn't always add up because there's certain books in the Bible that point to extra biblical texts, like Jude points to Enoch, and Peter points to certain ones that aren't in the
Peter's
Bible.
points to
Second
Enoch.
Peter, Second Peter,
Second Peter.
and they quote directly from it. You know, so, and then, you know, me and Rachel were talking about this before about how like Genesis 6 just kind of like breezes over this whole concept of angels coming and coming down and having sex with women.
Oh, the
And-
giants.
Yeah, and then the giants living in those days and the Nephilim and all of that. And then it also just breezes over the fact that Enoch was this amazing man that walked with God. And
They
then he,
reference him a few times, but the book of Enoch is left out of the Bible.
but the book of Enoch was in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which they found, which predated every Bible that they had.
Predated Jesus.
Predated Jesus. And it was also in the Ethiopian Bible, which predated all of that too. It was still in their Bible as like a real religious text. So you start to like question like, well, why
Was that left out?
why was that left out?
Yeah.
You know, and some people have reasons, and then when you know, I don't really know how to make sense of it, but I decided to read it, you know, because if Jude thought it was scripture, if Peter thought it was scripture, you know, why isn't it scripture? You know,
How long is it?
The book of Enoch.
20 something chapters,
No,
maybe.
Jasper.
Oh, I
Oh,
don't know.
Jasper.
Jasper's long.
Yeah,
Jasper's
Is it
long.
long?
Yeah.
yeah.
It's basically like Genesis. You know what I mean? And more.
It's more
But
detailed.
it's detailed.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
It definitely gives more detail into Genesis.
Where'd y'all find it at?
Online.
Yeah.
Find it online. You just gotta look it up.
Just look it up.
There's different versions. There's different interpretations. So
Yeah.
you gotta find the right one. I'll talk to you about it later. Like if you
Yeah.
really want to look it up. But
Jake's been on this like Paleo Hebrew kick where he's like really like researching and understanding the ancient Hebrewic language and translating things back to that language, like, and understanding where our Bible kind of falls short. Like the Bible that's been translated, it was translated into Greek and then translated into English, and through those translations, you lose some of the like the clarity, you lose some of the dimension of what a lot of these things mean, and
yeah, well, Hebrew is it's different in terms of. I'm trying to think of a word to explain it, but when you look at Hebrew, it's multi-dimensional.
Right.
So like English is not that way. It's
Right.
Corny, whack.
Yeah.
Confusing. Yeah.
And one letter in Hebrew can mean a multiple amount of things.
Yep.
You know, so and it just opens up the scripture so much. And it's a lot.
That's what they say. Like one letter has 4 meanings, one word has 40 meanings, and a sentence can have 400 meanings
Yeah.
or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of like impossible. Okay, I'm gonna put this in the English
Right.
version. It'll probably be like, yo, then you gotta add more stuff to this because
Yeah. Give the example of that word that they can't translate that they just decided to make like what was it? He.
Oh,
or-
the et.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the aleph and the tav, right? The aleph is the first word, the tav is the last word, or letter, not word. I'm sorry. So there's the et, and it comes it's all over the Bible, and it's in different ways. Like you have the et Zion, the et Lamed. There's different the et Mem, and the et it signifies something, but it's untranslatable. So when it says in the beginning, God created. It says in the beginning. It says et. You know what? I'm not even gonna go there because I don't know exactly where the et is.
Right.
But my point is that aleph tav that's there. It's significant and it represents Jesus. Because he's the Alpha and Omega. That actually means he's the aleph and the tav. You know, he's
In
the
Hebrew,
fullness of
yeah.
Hebrew. So when you see the et, it represents the fullness in whatever place that's put in the Bible. You know what I mean? But you can't see that in English, which is crazy. So when you go back into Hebrew and you see it, it's all over.
Right.
You know, and it's sometimes it's added with something else, and it's great. It's greater. It's a greater significance with the letter that it's added to, like the et Zion, the Lamed.
So
you know.
add layers.
Yeah,
Right.
it
It's
adds
like
layers.
like the name of God. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like break down the meaning of that and how that points to Jesus as well. Like show that.
Yeah. So Yahweh.
Right.
So
But in the Hebrew, it's
Yod Hey Vav Hey.
right.
Or Yod Hey. Yeah, Yod Hey Vav Hey. So the Yod it represents finished work, or his hand, the might of his hand, finished work, right? The Hey is what is revealed. Yod Hey Vav. The Vav is the upright man. It's what's joined together. It's actually a nail too. You know what I mean? So it's a nail or it's a tent peg. It's a nail that's hammered in, right? Because it joins together. And then it's Yod Hey Vav Hey. So it's the hand, the work of his hand revealed, and that Yod is the number 10. Number 10 is divine order, or also number 10 is judgment. So it's divine order or judgment, and then you have the Hey, which is to behold, to reveal something that's revealed. So when we see this, and it goes back to God's grace in our life, because grace is God's ability seen in our life, right? So Yod Hey, that's literally his name. Observing the hand, observing the nail in your life. You know, Jesus.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And it's not just it's Jesus, it's the Holy Spirit, it's everything.
Right.
In that word, it's the triunion of God.
Right.
You know, which is it's cool. It's cool.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Jake up here preaching.
I mean, this is basic stuff. You know what I mean? Like if you
But we've lost it because of translations.
Right.
Yeah.
That ain't basic to me. I mean, that's not. I mean, I'm not Hebrew.
right.
So if I grew up on that, that's like blowing my mind. I'm like, yo, I never heard anybody explain it like that, but it makes sense.
Right.
You guys know what is it called? Latterman is.
No.
You guys heard of Latterman?
No.
So Latterman, you guys took biology.
Yeah.
So Latimen is like this something in our bodies. If like somebody Google it,
Rachel's gonna look it up right now.
It's like something in
You know
our
how to spell
bodies. Latimen. I can't remember. I feel like it's LATINUM, something like that. But it's something in our bodies, like a molecule or something like that, or atom. That's it has it symbolizes the cross in our bodies.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. I didn't
So
remember
it's like-
the name of it, but yeah, I remember seeing that. It's literally a cross chromosome type thing.
Wow.
In our bodies.
Yo.
Yeah.
That is, I experienced that in school, and cats like, so I'm like, okay, Scientology guys, explain this.
Yeah.
Explain this then. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it's like, all right, cool. Like, if you want those science, all right, bet, then let's get in our science bag then.
Right.
Let's get in our science bag.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
Okay, so
Yup,
this
there
is
you
what we're
go.
talking about here. So it's a chromosome that's literally in the form of a cross, and it's crazy because it looks like the symbol of, like, the snake.
The snake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's
What is that?
That's
What it's
just-
called? Latimen? What is it called?
Yeah.
LAMININ. Laminin.
Laminin. Okay.
yeah, but there's definitely a lot of hidden stuff,
Yeah.
Well, and that's what we were talking about with Easter, because here's the problem with Easter. Easter is great because it speaks of the resurrection of Jesus, but the problem is it divorces itself from Passover,
Right.
and Passover is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
There's times that God has throughout
Set
the
apart.
year in cycles, and if you don't know them, you won't see them.
But the word Easter, is it in the Bible? Like
No,
they-
the word Easter comes from Ishtar.
Yeah, Ishtar.
It's-
That's what
it's
I'm saying.
Definitely,
Yeah.
Like I was
definitely
saying
from
to
a
Jamie
pagan.
before, I went to this rabbit hole, dude,
Yeah.
of where Easter came from. Where
Right.
Ishtar was the goddess of fertility.
Well, that's why the eggs, the
egg-
rabbits,
Rabbits.
it's all comes from that. It's it comes from Babylon. It comes
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Nimrod
Exactly.
Right.
and
Yep.
Ishtar.
Hermes.
Yo, dude.
Hermetics.
Yeah.
That's all the same thing.
The Romans wrote that.
dyed egg, right?
Yeah.
I watched this on YouTube where people dyeing the eggs. It comes from like spring solstice.
Vernal equinox.
The vernal equinox. Yeah.
Right.
That's what.
That's what
and
the,
They used to sacrifice babies,
Mhm.
right? A child that's 1 year old. The year prior, they would sacrifice the baby, take the blood, dye the egg
the egg. Yep.
in the blood.
Mm-hmm.
And those babies were from the temple prostitutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a whole thing.
Right.
And it stems from
But
Babylon.
it's Baal worship.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's exactly
Baal.
where-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it stems from Babylon, and again, I don't want to, like, I'm not taking away from I don't like saying Easter. I like saying Resurrection Day just because
Happy
Yeah.
Resurrection
it takes
Day.
away
Right.
from, like, I'm not against it, of course,
Right.
because anything that's shedding light on Jesus
Right.
and it's taken away from something else,
Right.
and there's a
But
cult.
I think people need to be aware.
That's my point.
right.
But you have to be aware of what happened because they try to take away from Passover.
Right.
And there is so much significance in Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, that you won't see if you don't think you got. I'm not
Just the
saying you
whole
have to celebrate it, but I'm saying recognize it, acknowledge it,
right.
Just
see
the whole
what's going
symbolism,
on.
Like that's Passover is straight up Jesus.
Dude, people don't even
Everything.
know that the Last Supper was Passover.
Yeah.
Like, people don't even know
When
that.
they had that communion that we were just talking about,
Right.
Yeah.
there was a literal time in the Passover meal that they did that.
Right.
And there's so much in that if you don't know, like, that bread that he took, that was the afikomen, right? The afikomen was it's 3 pieces of bread, and the middle bread gets taken away and hidden. The kids got to go find it. That's the tradition.
So that's what it get the Easter egg hunt. That's
No, that's
No,
my
totally
bad.
different.
That's something
I'm talking about
I thought they took that and tried to
No,
flip
he's
it
talking
or
about
whatever.
Passover.
No.
Like, yeah, like
Passover. This bread, which is what they ate after the meal, right? This one piece of bread, they would go, they'd hide it, and they'd have to go. They'd send the kids to go find it. You know, when you think about it, what does Jesus say? You have to come like a child. You know, seek the truth. What are those? You got to come. You got to have childlike faith. So when those kids are going after that bread, after that truth, you know, they're going after. That's a symbol of us being as children seeking after God. You know, and bringing that forth. And then what are you doing? You're taking it and you're eating it.
Yeah.
And then that bread, when they brought it back, that's the bread that Jesus said, take of this bread.
right.
Yo, even that, like that to me, that symbolizes Jesus, his body. Like
Right.
you wrap it, it's wrapped up,
Yeah. It's wrapped.
and it was
Yeah.
hidden.
And it's hidden.
It was hidden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
crazy.
And there's so many things that are in these traditions with the Jewish Passover that people don't know about. You know, us as Christians. And if we can join those together, it opens up the proof of Jesus.
Yeah.
Because all this stuff, it superseded him. And then he came in and did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He came in and did it and showed how he fulfilled it all.
That's
You know?
that's what's blowing my mind. And it's just like it's just not even like, yo, I never heard it. Like it all makes sense.
Mhm.
Dang. And that's crazy.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And not just that, you got what's coming up next. You have Pentecost,
Right.
or what's it called, Shavuot.
Shavuot, yeah.
Yeah, Shavuot, which is where the Israelites came together with the Ten Commandments, right? And they came together with God. That was their marriage to God. That was their covenant when God made their covenant, right? At that time, they rebelled against God. 3,000 people died,
Yeah.
right, in that rebellion. The Pentecost, 3,000 people were saved.
Yeah, and it happened on the same day.
You know what I mean? So it's significant because through the law brings death. Through Christ brings life. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
And those things, like, we miss them if we divorce ourselves from that Old Testament. You know, there's a lot of stuff in the law where that was fulfilled by God,
Yeah.
by Jesus. You know,
But like you said, I think like what people don't realize is that when they establish these traditions for the Christian church, they totally left out all of that.
Yeah.
And it just becomes, and they wanted to marry everything with the pagan rituals that they were already serving, which lines up with the vernal equinox and then the winter solstice and the rituals that they did there, and
which
all of
in a
those-
way is good because it takes away the power of
Right.
those things.
Right.
You know, so when you're worshiping God in those times,
those times where the most pagan rituals are being done. Yeah.
it's a good thing. You know, because there's you know, what is the Hebrew what they call it, Hebrew roots movement.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that, but these are people who they're getting so into the law that they're kind of taken away from Jesus.
Right.
you know?
Trying to do Sabbath like on the actual days and like really being strict about like, you know, because our entire calendar system is based off of paganism. Is our days, like, you know, Monday is Moon Day, Tuesday is Mars Day, Wednesday, you know, in the Latin is Mercury Day, and Thursday, you know, Venus Day, on and on and on. Like it's all of our days are literally an ode to the gods of Roman and Greek mythology and paganism, and same thing with the months.
Right.
But
and that's why, like,
Well, they said that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
They said. I read that the Egyptians did the calendar.
not the calendar that we follow. It was done by the
they
Roman.
had their own.
The calendar that we follow is the Roman calendar. That's why the days, the names of the months are lined up with the gods or the like certain emperors that ruled. Like July is Julius, and August is Augustine, and all the other ones. September, sept means 7 originally, right? But there was only 10 months in the year. That's why December is the last month. Dec, it's 10. But they added
That's dope.
2 more months. They added January and February, I believe.
Oh, shucks.
March used to be the first month, which was Mars. March is for Mars. And all of the months line up with their calendar. The original like Jewish calendar falls differently. That's why their New Year is around like the end of September. That's when they do
Rosh Hashanah.
Rosh Hashanah, right?
Yeah, which technically isn't really
And then
either. But
Yom Kippur or Yom Kippur.
yeah, Yom
Yeah.
Kippur is around that time.
Right. But it's funny because Ramadan falls around that same time too. You know. But yeah, so our calendar is totally different from that. It's based off of, and our alphabet system is based off of the Greeks, and our days of the week are based off the Romans. So it's like we're really indoctrinated into that system that was spread a lot by the Catholic Church. So it's just for people to understand, like you were saying, like with Easter, it's not like, oh, you can't celebrate Easter and you shouldn't, you know.
And people will try to do that too. Like, it just becomes a whole nother religion.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
If you're doing
Jehovah's
it,
Witness do it.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, they do. They
Yeah.
believe that if you're doing an Easter egg hunt, you're going to hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and it's like understand where that stuff comes from. There's nothing wrong with your kids enjoying themselves and having fun as long as they know what the real reason is and what the real what's important. You know what I mean? I think that's what we're getting at.
I want to ask y'all something.
Yeah.
So we just talked about how, you know, you talk about the snowplow
parents. Yeah.
snowplow parent basically is a parent you know that hides their child from real life situations. And I feel like us as believers, like, we don't tell the truth. It's like, no, the prophets were killed because they were like, no, I'm sold out.
Yeah.
Like, as a believer, are you willing to put your life on the line? You know what I mean? Like, the enemy messes with me when I was asleep. I was telling you at Starbucks, I felt a demon land in my room.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, you know, we are believers. Y'all understand this because I'm doing something that the enemy don't like. You know what I'm saying? And my attitude towards it, I don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't care, yo. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm not scared.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I feel like we get to a point where we gotta fit in. And what I was telling Moore earlier, I was like, look, if you feel like that you're not on top of the enemy's hit list, then you need to check yourself then. Because if he not bothering you, you know what I mean? What are you not doing? And I feel like we scared to tell people, like, no, hell is the consequence for you not living right. You know what I'm saying? You know? And it's like, no, okay, cool. Relationship check. Where you at with Christ? No, I'm talking about you need to. No, God knows your heart. Some people are like, well, God's still dealing with me.
Right.
You need to stop using that as a lame excuse now.
Yeah.
How long you want God to be dealing with you in this area?
That right there.
Let's speak deliverance,
That
y'all.
right there is pride. That's pride in the shape of humility. You know, because it's like, yeah, well, I just got to get my life right. You know, I've heard somebody said to me not too long ago, you know, I'm not gonna get water baptized until I know I'm really right with God. I'm not fake. And I'm like, but you saying that statement, it's all wrong. God is the one that does it.
Yes,
you don't
sir.
do it.
What were you about to say, Rachel? It looked like you were going to say something. You pulled the mic up. Well, I want to address something in the chat. First, I want to say what's up to Wayne, who was watching, and say, yeah, man, I got the mics hooked up. Trying to be like you, man. Trying to be a great engineer. But let me see. What was it? Tanya Reed, do you guys... think that the Bible should be taken literally? People ask this a lot. I don't even know what that means a lot of times.
I mean, I
lost camera one, Jamie.
Okay.
I would say yeah, and I would say no.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was
And I'm saying that because, like, the Old Testament, or let me not say, the law is not in play anymore. So obviously we're not taking that literally.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for that. It's because we have Jesus. Jesus fulfilled it.
We're under his grace.
But it doesn't mean that the whole point of Israel was to keep them in a place where Jesus could come.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They had to be in a place of sanctity so that Jesus could come through Israel. So we have Jesus now, you know, and we have grace. But the rules that they had to abide by, we still have to abide by, because it's a spiritual battle. And that's what people don't get. Like, the reason why there was death that came upon Israel at that time,
right,
was because they didn't have the grace that God has through us. They didn't have the ability to battle with the spirit realm like we have the ability to battle with the spirit realm. You know, and people don't. So it's not that cut and dry. Like, it's literal. Do you take it literal? Yeah, you take it literal, but you're not going to go around stoning people.
Right.
Obviously not, because the things that they dealt with, we deal with in a different way now. We deal with in the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because we have that relationship with the Father.
Right.
We don't need a priest to intercede for us. We have Jesus interceding for us.
Right.
We can come in before the Father, go boldly before the throne, and seek Him ourselves, and have an intimate relationship with Him, where we can come into the whole point. Because people always say, "Oh, I have a relationship with Christ." If you're not coming into the understanding of who He is and getting to know Him, to deal with things in your life, then what are you coming into?
Talk to him, Jake.
You know, you have it's a supernatural thing that we're dealing with, and that statement. Do you deal with? Do you take it literal or figurative? I guess you could say. That's something that you would say from a reasoning standpoint, right?
Right.
And God is not reason. God is the solution. There's a difference.
Yes, sir.
You know, people get. This is the thing with. I was just having this conversation with Jamie. The United States. It says that the reason is the soul of the law. Right. You can reason the law all day, and you can twist it and bend it to make it make sense to you. That's what the Jews did all throughout. That's why
that's what lawyers do. That's why they go to school. That's why they learn the words of the law. It's a wizardry of words.
Exactly.
Right? It's learning how to speak in a way that can keep you out of trouble or avoid penalty or get you absolved of crimes. Right.
Right. But we don't have to reason the law, because God, He delivered us from the law.
Yeah.
And if we're still trying to reason in ourselves with logic about the Bible, well, then we're never going to come into the solution of it, which is Christ.
Right.
If we can come into that solution, if we can say, I'm going to believe this Bible, but it comes from God. So God, I'm going to ask you to reveal this to me. I believe He's going to reveal it to me.
Right.
And I know for my own personal experience, He has, revealed it to me. It's a personal thing. It's a personal thing, but it extends outwardly because I'm able to experience it and then share it with other people in my life.
Right.
And it's powerful. Are we having an issue with the camera? Yeah.
Oh, that was me? Yeah. Oh, my bad. I'm sure I ain't touched that joint though.
So what else do we have? Do you guys think?
I think that was the last question.
Okay. So Jeremiah. Well, what was I going to ask you? What do you think we could do as a church to speak to the generation coming up? And I'm talking not speak to like these 20-year-olds. How do we get to them? How do we get to this ultra sensitive generation?
Well, what church do you go to? What church you go to?
We have a home church.
Remember
Now look, I asked that for a reason. You guys, are there problems that you guys have with church? Anything?
I mean, church as people or church as
people. Like, do you have a problem? Is it? I'm gonna ask you this: is there a reason why you don't go to a physical church?
There's a
Not
reason.
saying you need to.
There's a reason. It's just because we were led to start our own thing.
Okay.
That's what God told us to do.
All right, bet. Say no more.
Yeah.
Because I say that too because
But
sometimes,
we did go to church,
Okay.
like a physical church, and then there was a time where God was like, "Okay, it's time to go," you know.
Mhm.
But it was like literally like not a decision we made. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so yeah, just want to
Yeah.
make that clear because don't just start going and doing stuff.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
no.
People shouldn't just go
Yeah.
because you can't do something out of rebellion. You know what I mean? Like you can't see like, oh, there's messed up. There's always going to be messed up stuff in churches. You know what I mean? So I just want to make that clear for people. Like just because there's stuff going on in churches that you see is wrong doesn't mean that you shouldn't be going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So if your question, ask me your question again.
I gotta remember what I said.
What's something about?
How?
The younger generation.
What do you see? And you don't have to know this. Like I'm just asking from another perspective. How can we reach this generation coming up that are in their like 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are this ultra sensitive generation that's coming up right now because of the media, because of social media, and every kid gets a trophy mentality. You know?
I feel like, okay, because I love talking about generations. I hate saying this M word, but I am a millennial. Because when people say millennials, I hate when they say that because they always talk about something negative for what millennials are doing. So, but I would say this: once other generations can relate to the other generations, which one, transparency equals the truth, you know. So we need to tackle some things that we gotta know that we relate to other generations by that, knowing that was us in their position. Stop saying the stuff, oh, I don't know what y'all into. What was you into? You're not telling the truth. Just tell the truth. We're not being transparent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're not talking
We're
about
not being
sex.
honest.
You know what I mean? Don't wait till Jeremiah comes out about his virginity. Oh, I want you to talk to my son. I'm not talking to him.
Right.
You talk to him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, no.
Why
like,
can't you talk to him?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Right.
what am I? I'm coming. I'm doing what I want.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no. It shouldn't. You shouldn't have to wait that long. That's the picture that we're trying to paint. All right. So George Washington Carver has a quote. He said, "It's better to build a young man than like a broken man or whatever." Because the older, like the one that's broken, he's like older or whatever. You got to put more into it to build him. That quote, a lot of people use that quote and be like, yeah, but I'm like, no. All right, but once it'll be easier because it's kind of like if we skip over the broken man. If we skip over the broken man, right, then we just building all these new men. But look, a lot of our young men are looking at more of the broken men. We gotta fix the broken man. Still. Like, we got to do everything as men. I was talking earlier. Somebody was like, well, why men aren't in the church? You know what I'm saying? Why men not in the home?
Because you're not challenging them.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I told Jamie earlier, I said, men, we love hard. We love hard on other men. You know what I'm saying? So once a man in leadership breaks our heart, it really breaks our heart. But we got to use wisdom. And you know what? It's nothing. All right. If a parent doesn't teach you anything through their mouth, they'll show you with their bodies, whether they were there or not there.
Right.
You're always a teacher, and you can always learn.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we got to identify with those things. And it's easy. I feel like that we don't want to put the time in to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, another thing I get it. This is the first time me saying this out loud. Had a conversation with somebody. I see a lot of the church, we need to stop making fun of people's struggles. And I'm going to talk about homosexuality. Us as men, if we real men, why we homophobic?
Right.
If you a real man, why you homophobic?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, brother. I can give you a hug.
Think about that. What does that mean to be homophobic? Like, and I'm not talking about what the world says. I'm saying, what does that mean? It means to be afraid of homosexuality. Why are you afraid?
Why are you afraid?
Yeah, right.
Why are you afraid? And it's like, somebody broke it down. It said, well, in another sense, it was like homosexuality can be offensive. I understood that. Because it's kind of like, if you see a man that's like, wait, kind of, you portraying yourself to be, especially if that man is trying to approach you. I think that's offensive. If you're trying to approach me and you're a man and I'm a man, you're offending me. You're making an assumption that I will like what you're doing, or that you're hunting me. You know what I mean? I don't even believe that men are hunters anymore. What do hunters do? Hunters hunt to
eat.
Kill.
To eat.
Yeah, and then to eat. So stop using that analogy to approach women.
Right.
Bye. All right. Be a hunter. Now you in an abusive relationship. You want to be a hunter, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's why we look at it. If we look at it in that way, that's how it's going to affect us.
Yeah. No, I don't want it. No, I'm not going to hunt to eat or kill my wife. Like, no.
Right. That whole idea. But that goes back to what we were saying before. That, like, there's this disconnect between what a man is supposed to be even in a relationship. Like, what a real man, what the example of a real man is, what it means to be a real man, what it means to be a protector, a leader, an establisher, a foundation for the ones that come up after you, like, and have honor and pride in that. Right. You know what I mean?
And I want to say something even to, like, when we're confronted with, an opposite way of thinking, and if you're offended by that, well, then you can't help. You know what I mean? If you get caught into the offense, then you're going to go on the defense.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that's what our nature does. That's that beast nature. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's that animal. You go into survival mode. Mm-hmm. And that's what we got to die to. Yeah. True. And then we can see past our defenses because we were willing to die.
Right.
And then now we can deal with the issue.
Right.
Because if not, we're just going to run away from it. Like, I don't want to have nothing to do with that. But we got to go into the darkness. And that's kind of my point, asking you, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And just talking about, like, the church, a lot of times how it seems like they want to do their own thing, but then still be a part of the world, but their own thing.
They don't want to do their own thing, though. That's the thing, though. Like, we're scared of losing attendance at church.
Right.
That is a huge problem.
Of losing people's money. And look, that's why people not being delivered. That's why people have never experienced a miracle. Mm-hmm. You have never experienced a miracle. No, miracles are weird or are real.
Right.
I was telling me and Moon talked a lot earlier. Yeah. Witches and warlocks and stuff like that. Witchcraft is real. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
We talk about wizardry all the time because people don't. Y'all. The thing is, I think people don't understand how it's in everything. Mm-hmm. It's in everything that you encounter on a daily basis, and you don't realize that you're under its control.
You're under that spell.
Right.
Like,
right.
Yeah. Especially that pop culture.
Dude. They was about to put a witch in the White House, and Hillary would have went in. Y'all don't understand. Like,
about to get into politics.
I mean, that's not
listen. So we gotta wrap this up because it's getting late.
Really?
Yeah, it's getting late. We need to wrap this up.
10 minutes, 20 minutes ago.
See, that's what happens when you're having a good conversation.
But we can speak on that because we were talking about Easter. We want to touch on the bombing that happened in Sri Lanka,
Right.
And it was funny because I brought it to you and you was like, yeah, I think I heard of that. You know what I mean? It's funny how like it's not made more of a thing, and a lot of the problems that we were talking about was the approach to it from the media, and how like there's this real push to not mention that it was Christians that were killed.
It was an attack against Christians.
Right. People don't want to mention that, and that's the wizardry. It's
Right.
like
Okay.
I sent Rachel this the overlay of like the tweets that you were talking about Hillary and Obama put up, and it shows side by side with the tweets that they put up from the Christchurch incident that happened a while ago, and then this incident, and it shows how like they deliberately avoided saying the word Christian,
Right.
and how that this is a prime example of master wizardry. It's like when you look at the other tweet, they specifically call out that
My heart breaks for New Zealand and the global Muslim community.
Right.
We must continue to fight the
too many beers, perpetuation, and normalization of
the
Islamophobia
Islamophobia.
and racism. So it's like clearly making a stance.
That's crazy.
That it was Islamophobia, and it was against the Muslim community. But then pull that back
Now
up,
read the other side.
and then you go to the.
Barack.
Well, let's go to Hillary first,
Okay.
and then so on this holy weekend for many faiths, which it's really just two faiths that this is a holy weekend for, really.
We must stand united against hatred and violence.
I'm praying for everyone that was affected by today's horrific attacks on Easter worshipers and travelers in Sri Lanka.
I've never heard
Like,
That was
Easter
that was the first time I ever heard Easter worshipers.
Right, and I heard people trying to justify this by saying like, well, she's talking about the fact that it was Easter Sunday and that this is the day that people were worshiping, but we've talked about this before, how it's almost like Christians are no holds barred against attacking Christians. Like if you want to say anything negative about Christians, you can make fun of Jesus, you can make fun of Christians,
But that's because that's how we are.
Right.
As like the fun, we're talking about this, but it's not like we care. It's not like we care in terms of like it offends us.
Right.
We're talking about it because look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it doesn't offend us, and that's the point. Like we don't get like if you talk about Muhammad, Muslims get offended.
Right.
You talk about Jesus, we don't get offended because he's greater than that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We talk about all the time that there's these words that they use: Islamophobia, anti-Semitism. We don't have a word as Christians.
Yeah.
We don't have a word.
Islamophobia?
What were we joking about? Christ.
We were going to start calling people antichrist.
Yeah.
That criticize Christians.
Like anti-Semites.
Yeah. Like, so you're an antichrist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's funny as
Yeah,
crap,
right?
yo.
Because it's like, why do we not get a word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And the point is because we don't need a word.
right.
You know?
But also I'm using this as an example. The point of these tweets is because it's the wizardry. There's a reason why politicians are usually lawyers. We were just talking about lawyers and the masters of wordsmith, right? The wizardry of words. And when you look at Obama's tweets, and there was other people's tweets that literally use that same wording, Easter worshipers, because they don't want to say Christians, because it's taboo on the left to sympathize with Christians at all, because Christians are the enemy. You know what I mean? Christians are the Christians are literally pushed as the most right-wing ideology. So the far right is extreme Christianity, and for some reason, Islam is in the left, which doesn't really make sense because a lot of their ideas are the same. These are people's reactions. Yeah.
What the heck is a Easter worshiper?
Right.
That's the first time I ever heard this.
What does that say? It's too small.
You
Yeah.
know,
No,
it's
it's really
really
not
not
hard to say the word "quote unquote" Christians.
Right.
Oh,
I think a lot
that's
of people
hilarious.
a lot of people were calling them out for this because it's clear. It's like it's an obvious thing, and it's becoming more and more apparent that it's like because you're so attached to an ideology that says that we can't, like, Islam we have to protect, it's a protected class, but Christians are kind of like they're the enemy because they're they're bigots,
Right.
and they're, so it's like we can't call them victims in this case. So we have to avoid that at all costs. You know what I mean?
And it's a really dangerous situation if you actually think about it, because isn't this country supposed to be about protecting religion?
Yeah.
And all of the forms of religion?
Well, that's the hypocrisy of it.
Including Christians.
Exactly.
That's actually the main though.
That's a problem when you can't even say the word because you don't want to talk about it. Like, we can talk about a lot of other things, but that has to be rebranded Easter worshipers.
Well,
I've never heard the word Easter worshipers.
Yeah.
That's definitely
they're
suspect.
taking Christian out of everything though. Like, Merry Christmas. You can't. They try to get rid of that.
Right.
They try to get rid of God. In
on the money and and then the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, it's definitely a move that we've talked about before, where it's like, because we talked about it when the Christchurch thing happened, how there's this, you see it all over media, like it's this huge push to say like Muslims were attacked, look at what happened, this is a incitement of violence, and blame Trump for it because of his rhetoric. But it's like, this happens and it's the ultimate downplay, and like totally don't even mention. No one could even say that it was Muslim terrorists. No one could even say that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No one could mention that they were Christians that were attacked.
300
people. Yeah.
died.
6 times the amount of people that died in Christchurch.
500
injured. And when you look at there's Pew Research that shows that Christians are attacked way more, especially in those parts of the world. You know what I mean? In North Africa and in the Middle East, like Christians are the most attacked religion on the globally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they don't want to talk about that narrative.
Right.
It doesn't fall in line with what their narrative is.
And the point is, like, even what you were saying, like,
what's up, John? Finally watching.
the point is, if you don't,
John Burgundy.
if you don't stand,
no, he called him that because my brother sent us a picture of his suit that he's getting married in a couple weeks, and he sent us a picture of his suit, and it's literally like an all burgundy suit with the light tie. And immediately when I saw it, I thought of Ron Burgundy, so I sent him a picture of Ron Burgundy, and I was like, "This is going to be you at your wedding." So then we started all calling him John Burgundy.
John Burgundy. That's hilarious.
yeah,
He said he just got off work.
We cut you off.
What were you
Jake.
saying, Jake?
I'm trying to
I'm
think of-
always cutting Jake off.
Yeah, you did that a lot. Anyway, so what I was saying was, pay attention. Pay attention to.
He said, "Screw y'all."
Pay attention to when you speak to people and when you hold back and you're thinking about what you can say,
Right.
because you're in bondage.
Right.
Oh, shucks.
You're in bondage.
Sounds
and,
like today.
What do you mean?
Meaning people are scared.
sounds
to
like-
say, are scared
the day we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're second. I mean, if you're a white person, you got to think about white privilege.
Right. At
That's
all times.
That's bondage.
At all times. And you got to think about every time you interact with someone of a protected class or intersectional, that they have priority over you automatically.
What did
because-
Martin Luther King say? Not the color of the skin, but the content of the character.
Yeah, but he was a Christian, so we don't listen to him.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
But he was one of the biggest proponents of civil rights.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's a Christian.
But now, like, what are people trying to do with, it's totally changed and put on its head. Like, people are trying to be separate again.
Right.
You look at the colleges, they're trying to separate
They're
black
doing
people.
it. They're separating
That's
people
what
by races
right.
on
And
campuses.
Why are they doing it? Because you're too sensitive.
Right.
They're making you more sensitive.
You need a safe space.
Why do you want to be just with your own people? Challenge yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Be around people that make you a little uncomfortable.
No sauce. No sauce.
No sauce,
No
baby.
sauce, man.
No sauce.
Try to be around some sauce every once in a
Right.
while.
Sometimes
know
you
what I
got to
mean?
have a little sauce in
You
your
gotta
life.
have a little
Or
sauce.
try the sauce.
Yo, sauce is amazing. I think
sauce.
You look, French people are the masters of sauce, right? They have like all the sauce. Oh,
Hollandaise?
damn. Talk about Notre Dame, you know. But anyway, we'll get to that another time. We don't have time to get into Notre Dame.
That's another hour, bro.
Yeah, but yeah, back to back to this whole thing with because we talked about Ilhan Omar last week and her thing about downplaying 9/11. You know what I mean? And how like the fact that you even came out and said like, why would she say that? Now you're all of a sudden a racist or an Islamophobe or you're a sexist. It's like they keep throwing these terms out.
But why are they always attacking? Because they want you to feel insecure about who you are.
Right.
You
Or
know?
about speaking truth at all.
Right.
It's the best way to censor
and
people.
What you just said about being a homophobe. Like, if you say, I don't believe that a man having sex with another man is right, that doesn't make me a homophobe. You know, that makes me believe in what I believe because I have a foundation in something that's greater than myself.
Yes,
Right.
sir. Right.
You know, you might be, and whether it's, I don't believe in having sex before marriage.
Right.
I don't believe in a lot of things before marriage.
Right.
You know, it's the same as that. It doesn't supersede that.
Right.
But you'll call that.
Hold up, Rachel's going to say.
And I think like, so I was listening to some people give a commentary on like the difference between like our moral and individual ideals and politics.
Right.
And so sometimes those things go hand in hand, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes I, as a person in America, need to be able to have my morals, my values, whatever religious beliefs that I have. And as long as I'm not pushing them on you, that has to be okay. You have to respect that.
Exactly.
You should stand for
But
that.
they
You
don't.
should support me the same way that I support you having your ideals.
That's what America's supposed to be.
What's important.
Yeah.
And that's another example of
Thank
what
you.
of the
Rachel.
difference
That's good.
of the difference between Christians standing up for what they believe in other cultures, because we looked at the videos of the district that Ilhan Omar comes from in Minnesota where they talked about how they'd rather have Sharia law there. And it's like we're all supposed to respect that they want to live in a community where their laws are governed, you know what I mean? And because they live
It
by
supersedes
the
the laws of
Constitution of the United
Right.
States,
Right.
right? But Christians aren't allowed to have that same ideology. You know, we're considered far right extremists.
The owner of Chick-fil-A can't say that
And-
he
Right.
disagrees with.
Well, he
that-
can.
but
He can
going-
say it.
But he's gonna get his store is gonna get vandalized.
Yeah, and protest.
But why? Because it all goes back to wizardry.
Right.
It all goes back to manipulation. It all goes back to
Rich
Hillary
is like,
Clinton.
wrap it up, Jake.
It was a good time. I heard a good wrap up line.
That was a good way to wrap it
It
all
all
up.
goes
Tie it
back
up in a
to
bow.
what are you
take it
being pushed? What's being pushed
Yeah,
on you?
right.
What is attempting to manipulate you?
Right.
You know, ask these questions. We got to pay attention to these things. Christian or not.
Ask yourself these questions.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Ask
Like,
yourself.
look around.
We
Why-
always go back to that. Ask
Right.
yourself the question.
But that's what,
Question.
again, we always get back to this is the purpose of this. Why we talk, why we have these talks, why we want to have this podcast, because we want people to start asking themselves these questions and not just to be living life blindly, controlled by things that they don't realize they're controlled by, manipulated by the wizardry that's out there, manipulated by people tweeting about Easter worshipers instead of just calling out that Christians were killed. 300 Christians were killed. That's what happened.
Sad.
By people that hate Christians. You know what I mean? And if so, and if 300,
Which, look at this country we live in and we're blessed that
Right.
we don't have to deal with that.
right?
You know what I mean? That's something that in this country you don't have to deal with. But
Exactly.
let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Thank you everybody for watching. Let me just address. Thanks, JJ. He said, I love this, y'all. Yeah, we do this every Tuesday. We're doing this podcast to reach the youth. JJ, we're trying to, reach everybody, really. We believe that everyone is a young lion, and they all have a young lion inside of them that needs to be woken up so that we're not just sheep being led to the slaughter, you know, because what are sheep? Sheep are food. Sheep are, clothing. They're just something that's used to keep everyone,
The only way we're supposed to be sheep is for God.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Not for people.
Right. But so we're trying to get people to see that they have that lion in them. And you're always a young lion because we never become full grown on this earth. We're always learning. We're always constantly trying to figure out how to become the ruler that we're meant to be. And so that's what the purpose of this podcast is. We thank you everybody for watching.
That's right.
Should we be easily offended because the Bible says you shouldn't be offended? That's Jesse James. That's Shaniqua's brother-in-law asking that. Yeah, we addressed that. So, but thanks for watching. Again, if you want to support the Young Lions, if you want to become a Young Lion, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Young Lion TV. If you sign up there, you become a Young Lion, and then we have special content that we're going to be offering to all those people. You get all of our music that we come out with in the future. So you'll get gold on May 6th, which is coming out on May 6th, and you get a lot of perks for becoming a Young Lion because it shows that you want to support this movement and you want to be a part of this and you believe in it, and we appreciate that. And you're going to help us get more equipment, get a camera for Rachel that we want to get her incorporated into the podcast so she can produce and be shown on there. And
she's got something to say.
Rachel got a lot to say. She does.
You want to plug anything?
Yeah, let's let.
Yeah. Hey, thank you guys for having me on the show.
Absolutely, bro.
Jamie, Moon, Jake, Miss Rachel, it's been awesome. Had a great time. I'm Jeremiah Chase. Once again, 27-year-old virgin. Have an organization called Sex Can Wait a While. Sex Can Wait a While. You guys can follow me on Facebook, Sex Can Wait a While. Instagram, Sex Can Wait a While. Facebook, Jeremiah Chase. And Instagram, Jared Chase. That's JereChase. May 25th is our event called A Man's Heart. It's gonna start at 2:00. It's at 4221 Aspen Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's gonna be a dope event. Let's touch some lost conversations between father and son. Lost conversations within a man's heart. Women are allowed at this event. This is not an event that's strictly for men. A lot of women complain, men are emotional. All right, cool. Come to this event, then you can just scratch off the list. You will experience a man being emotional.
Cool. Thank you for coming again, bro. We appreciate you. Everybody, listen, please follow us on Instagram too, Young Lion TV. I started that. I'm trying to get people to follow us. I'm posting up 1-minute clips of prime stuff that we talk about, and our Facebook page, Young Lion TV. Go there and give us a like on there too. We will see you guys next week. We love you. God bless. Peace.
Young Lion, go live, yeah. Young Lion, you rich, yeah. This